all in a welterweight bout.
The king of Miami, Jorge Gamebred Masvidal.
UFC 287, Saturday, April 8th at 10 p.m. Eastern. Buy it on ESPNplus.com/PPV. Thursday on ESPN Radio.
Today, the games count.
First game of the big league season.
Happy opening day.
It's Major League Baseball's opening day.
The Houston Astros have won the World Series.
The world champion Houston Astros begin a defense of their title when they welcome the Chicago White Sox. The Astros and White Sox. Coverage begins Thursday at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN. You can also listen on the ESPN app and on SiriusXM Channel 80.
Today on ESPN Daily, Jeff Passan explains why the pitch clock in Major League Baseball is even bigger than you realize. And also, this is my last show hosting ESPN Daily. So follow us and give this one a listen wherever you get good podcasts.
Coming to you live from the Superbook Sports Studios in Kettering. You're listening to Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
And just like that, it is a Monday. Kenner and Kev live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM, streaming live at wingam.com, live on the Justin Kenner Show Facebook page, live on ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel. I think we covered all the bases there, but we are off and rocking here today on a Monday. I hope everybody had a great weekend. I'm Justin Kenner. He's Kev Nash. Mr. Kev Nash, welcome.
What up, though?
How was your weekend?
It was great.
We did something pretty cool over the weekend. I didn't ask permission, so I'm gonna wait on that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that later on. About what you did this weekend. It wasn't it wasn't anything bad, by the way. It's radio appropriate. It'd just be respectful of somebody else in the process. But yes, you did have a good weekend.
Very good weekend.
I thought I was having a good weekend until I get a certain snap of who Kev's just walking around. I'm like, oh, okay. I thought I was having a good weekend, but not as good a weekend as Kev. But no, hope you had a good weekend too.
I know somebody had an even better weekend than me, and he was with me this weekend.
So there's that. But we'll get to that in a bit because, like I said, I should have talked to you about that before. But we'll dive into that here around the corner. Lots to get into. How about we open up with this, Kev, the NCAA tournament, not just for the men's tournament, but the women's tournament as well. And what's interesting is we could talk about, if you would have told me at the beginning of the season that the Final Four this year would have consisted of Florida Atlantic going up against San Diego State University with a chance, which, by the way, I don't know if you heard, I cut my FanDuel spot last week, and in there, it's a recorded spot from last week. It's talking about Michigan State. I got to go in and change it. I just heard me anyways. But yes, if you would have told me that Florida Atlantic going up against San Diego State University with the winner going on to take on Miami or UConn, which isn't the worst matchup in the world. This is actually probably going to be one of the most entertaining Final Fours in quite some time. And this is a very not dull as disrespectful, but if you would have told me before the season started that this is the Final Four, I would have said, well, this is going to be a horrible Final Four. Mm-hmm. Anything but. These four teams have taken all college basketball fans along for a ride and for this journey. And this is honestly one of the most talked about Final Fours that I can remember in quite some time, in the build up to it and the uniqueness to it. Four teams I think UConn was expected. Miami we knew would be good this year, not Final Four good. But San Diego State University going up against Florida Atlantic, I don't think we expected this at all. This has been just one heck of a roller coaster NCAA tournament. We usually talk about this the first weekend, and after that it dies down. Start talking about spring training, hot and heavy in free agency, the NFL, right. The draft around the corner. Kudos to college basketball. We'll start with the men's side. That has kept everyone's attention throughout the entire tournament. I can't tell you the last time that this many people cared this much about the tournament this far. Oh, is that your contract at work? Is that what that is?
No. That's good. That's good. Allegedly. No, that is my bracket. And, it was all good till it wasn't all good. Things were rolling throughout the first round. I was talking trash and letting people know, like, hey, man, these are the reasons I stay up late night and watching lots of college basketball. So this time of year, I can be correct on my picks. And everything was good until UCLA and UConn on Thursday night. Then I took a hit. I took a major hit. I mean, UCLA lost. I had UCLA playing Bama in the final, and they were out. and then all of a sudden Alabama loses, and then all of a sudden, Kansas State makes it, and then they're up, and then they're down, and then they don't make it, and then it just Texas
it's
is
like a
up.
Katy Perry song.
Yeah. And Texas is up 12 in the second half. I'm sitting pretty. I'm like, all right, at least I'm gonna get one team in the Final Four, until Miami just goes nuclear from 3-point land and started making turnovers left and right, getting fast break points, and then they ultimately end up winning. This goes to show we know nothing. We know nothing, especially with college basketball. This tournament shows you that when you start having quote unquote upsets, they start happening by the lump sum. And at this point, we really can't call these games upsets, because it's not like the teams that are in the Final Four hadn't won like 25 plus games each. Now we can talk about the conference they play in, and like, look, man, they play in the SEC, they play in the Big Ten, they play in the ACC. What we're learning is not only do these teams that play in these big conferences, a lot of those guys aren't going to be superstars in the NBA. They're going to potentially be role players, but those players in the smaller conferences have very good talent as well. And this thing was wide open from the jump. And you said this going into it, I really don't know who to pick. Normally we know who to pick. And I went with the motto of, oh, man, I'm going to just go with the best player. Well, the best player, Brandon Miller, decided to have his absolute worst 3-game stretch of his entire basketball career. The first round, he didn't score any points. Second round, he had a pretty good game. And then his third round against San Diego State, it looked like I was out there playing basketball. It was bad for me personally, but highly, highly entertaining.
So it's interesting because I think when you said that we can no longer call these upsets, I'm in between on that, only because I still think they could be classified as upsets. But March Madness is the one postseason tournament that does the least job of protecting their higher seeds, if you will. I mean, I guess college athletics in general is like that. But like, for instance, the NBA, you have series. So, you might have, a lower seed beating a higher seed one time, like in a, 4 or a 5-game or 7-game series, but it's set up to where, okay, the top seeds, they might have an off night or two, but they're not going to have 4 off nights.
Right.
They protect their higher seeds. The NFL, you protect your higher seeds with home field advantage and that type of stuff. That's what you do there. With March Madness, you totally, you become the higher seeds are vulnerable at all costs, because for one, people are naturally against you because you're the higher seed.
Right.
This tournament has taken on a frenzy of its own where we don't go for the higher seeds. We want the lower seeds to win. At least I do, or I at least do that first weekend. I might have changed a little bit. Normally, I'm like, okay, I like the upsets the first weekend. I hate it after that. But if the whole narrative of the tournament is the upsets, then I can get down with it. What I don't like is, oh man, we could have had Kentucky versus Duke and Kansas against, let's say, a Michigan State or something, and then we end up having Florida Atlantic. Then I'd be mad at Florida Atlantic. Like I was mad at Loyola a few years ago. Like, you guys were cute, so you got to the Final Four. Now you robbed us of a really cool matchup. But this is different because this is just 4 unique teams. Now, UConn was given the nod kind of as the season went on. Hurley did a fantastic job with them. I mean, he did in 3 years. What he's done is just fantastic.
Yeah, they're searching for their 5th title in 23 years.
More than Duke, more than Kentucky. I mean, it was a long list of how long before we considered UConn a basketball blue blood? Are they considered a basketball blue blood? It was an interesting thread on Twitter today. We should get that to in a moment. Tell my ADD's in full force today. But I don't know if I consider these I still do consider these upsets, but I just think that it's just more volume because of the fact that the higher seeds are more vulnerable because of the neutral floor. It's nothing new. It's what the tournament's always been. But if college basketball wanted to protect their higher seeds, to keep the Kentuckys and keep those teams in longer, give the higher seeds the home court advantage throughout the tournament, I highly doubt you get these upsets at such a high clip. But there might be more reasons to these upsets, or however you want to define them. But I found this interesting. Heading into the Elite Eight, Kev, how about this? For the Elite Eight starters, for all the teams in the Elite Eight, of the Elite Eight starters, 19 of them were transfers. 16 of them were seniors, and there was only 1 freshman starting for any of these Elite Eight teams. It's older veteran players. Whether your Dukes and North Carolinas and your Kentuckys, North Carolina wasn't in it this year, but the teams that have all the star freshmen, the one and dones, or maybe the 2 years, the sophomores and dones and all that, those teams aren't built for the pressure that comes with these one and done type tournaments. So single elimination tournaments, I just found that fascinating. And that plays a role in this. Yes, to a certain extent, but I can't tell if this is what the tournaments are going to be like moving forward, or is this my favorite word, outlier? Is this tournament an outlier, or is this what we should expect more of moving forward?
I think this is what we should expect moving forward. And to real quick before you really get into this should be the most embarrassing season for North Carolina basketball
Mhm.
of all time. There's been seasons where they haven't made a tournament before, sure. There's been seasons they've been upset in early rounds and everything like that. But you talked about how these veteran teams are making runs and runs to the Final Four and everything like that. Not only did North Carolina have a veteran team, but they had a veteran team full of McDonald's All-Americans and guys that are going to be late first round, early second round NBA draft picks. So they should be highly embarrassed how they played all season. I know that their point guard is coming back and Armando Baycock, their center, is coming back for his 5th season. So, some guys are coming back to try to run it back and see what they can do. But highly embarrassing season. Like, you guys had all the experience that these teams from the smaller conferences had, plus the supreme talent, so highly embarrassing season for North Carolina, and I would definitely put my money on them to win it next year, if you a FanDuel or a DraftKings type of person out there. But back to your point about, is this just a one-off? I think this is going to be the new reality with the transfer portal, with the one and done, with the G League. Like, a lot of the highly supreme talent, they're not even going to college. They're going straight to the G League and making money playing there and then going to the NBA. And for me, isn't this what we want? We want competitive basketball. Do we really want just guys staying in school just because, or do we want guys that kind of have no option but to stay in school and create a better product for us to watch?
So I thought that very interesting question there, because I had this in my rundown for the next point of this is, I don't know what the true barometer is to follow to tell what we want, because I'm curious to see what TV. So to this point, through the Elite Eight, this is the highest rated NCAA tournament in the last 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
So read that earlier today. Waiting to see what the Final Four does. The Final Four is going to be interesting, because usually the thing about the NCAA tournament is it pulls in the casual or non-traditional basketball fan in general. You tune in because at work, everyone talks about it at the office. Your kids are talking about it, or coworkers, whatever. So you kind of tune in just because you hear so much about it, blah, blah, blah. But if you're trying to sell a non-traditional basketball fan on Florida Atlantic against San Diego State, I don't know how that's going to go. Miami against UConn, okay, possibly UConn is definitely going to carry this tournament, that's for sure, assuming that they come out on top. But here's where I'm like, I don't know how to follow how we could tell if this is going to be interesting or not, because ticket prices to the Final Four from the second that the final or that the last Elite Eight game ended over the weekend, tickets plummeted 36%.
Mm-hmm.
Final Four tickets plummeted. Now, that might sound like a big deal. It is a big deal from a business perspective, yes, but this is like a stadium. It's over in Houston, right?
Yeah.
It's like a large stadium, okay? So
it's where the Texans play, yeah.
So the 36%, a lot of times people will buy tickets just to go and fill up the place to experience the Final Four.
Right.
But there's usually bigger programs there. This is going to hurt those people, but like at the same time, it should help those people. If tickets are dropping, you should jump on those quicker, because that's how you get your Final Four experience, minus the big teams.
Right.
But I do think that is something to keep an eye on, but I don't know what college basketball care. They care about the TV deal. More people are watching. So if that means decreased attendance at the Final Four, but more people watching, then I think that's all that matters. But I'm fascinated. We need more of a sample size of years of this type of chaos. I mean, we call it March Madness, but usually the madness is just the first weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Then it kind of dies out a little bit. This has been madness from the very first game, which was West Virginia against, who did West Virginia even play? It doesn't matter. I just remember Maryland. West Virginia against Maryland was the very first game tipped off of this year's NCAA tournament. From that game, with how that one ended, all the way to now, it has been complete madness the entire step of the way. If this is what we get moving forward, this is a great thing. But I am curious where's the downfalls. To get this, you have to lose that. Well, what we're getting is more interest throughout the length of the tournament. We're getting more entertaining storylines,
Mm-hmm.
but what are we losing? I don't think we could answer that yet. I am curious to see what we're losing and what that's going to be moving forward.
I shouldn't have ripped up my bracket because I wanted to look at something, but I can't.
Find mine.
But anyway, to answer your question, I think this is ultimately going to be a good thing, because I think we're going to get more competitive basketball, and that's really all I want, outside of rooting for Ohio State, Syracuse, Wright State, UD. Like, I want competitive basketball games. I really don't care about, like, obviously it's cool to see the North Carolina, the storied programs in the tournament and making runs and cutting down nets and everything like that. That's going to bring in the casuals, but I think this is going to keep the casual fan invested, because we have no idea. Like, there's the thing about the NBA playoffs that I despise is I know that either the Celtics or the Bucks are going to win the East. I'm rooting for the Cavs, but them actually winning, probably not going to happen. Now, the West is kind of wide open, but if you know half of it, then how interesting is it really? We know that, all right, the Bucks, they'll be the 1 seed. Eventually, they'll play the AC, be it the Hawks or whomever. They'll win the first 2 at home. They'll lose the third one in Atlanta, and then win the fourth one in Atlanta, and then win Game 5 up there in Milwaukee. We know that, and we're like 5 more games away from the playoffs even starting. So I think the unpredictability of the tournament is what brings the casual person in initially. And now that we have teams from non-traditional powers in there, this is going to make for something that we've never seen before, potentially. Like, Miami's not a traditional basketball power. They're a football school. There's only one basketball school in there, and that's UConn. And UConn is known for their women's program more than their men's program. So, I mean, I think this is cool. And another thing that I think is very cool, the head coach from San Diego State, he used to be on Fisher's staff up there in Michigan with the Fab Five. And I've been seeing the tweets from Juwan Howard, Jalen Rose, Chris Webber, like rooting for them. So there's like Michigan West, so to speak, for the basketball program. So I'm sure we're going to see those guys out at the Final Four rooting for their old coach.
All right, so that leads us to this. 518-1410, give us a call or jump in. Josh Kinner Show Facebook page or the ESPN Dayton YouTube channel. The madness has gone on beyond just that first weekend. We are officially heading into the Final Four with a non-traditional Final Four, type of teams. When you have, of course, the likes of Florida Atlantic, San Diego State, Miami, and UConn. That's your Final Four. But yet ratings social media buzz all over the place. The ratings through the roof, all of this stuff. So where do you guys fall with this Final Four matchup? Does this satisfy you? Are you into this, or do you miss the Dukes and the Kentuckys and the Blue Bloods filling out your Final Four? 518-1410, or jump in on the comment section and weigh in. I am curious people's thoughts on this. Is this good or bad for college basketball? I don't think it's bad. I don't think anyone thinks it's bad, but what are we missing? Is it bad? Is this tickets are down 36%. The ticket prices for the Final Four have plummeted 36% the second that the final Elite Eight game ended yesterday. So is this bad for college basketball? I think it's good. Kev thinks it's good. I think the vast majority of us think it's good. But what are we missing? Give us a call, 518-1410, or leave it in the comment section. We'll be right back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
The forecast says light rain and mostly cloudy skies. 34 tonight. Partly sunny, chance of rain in the afternoon tomorrow. 50 our high. Mostly sunny. 55 for Wednesday. I'm Rick Schrepp from 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Carol Wirtz Tire and Auto Service at 730 South Patterson in Dayton, where they treat every vehicle like their own and every customer like family. Online at c-wtire.com.
Heart failure, carpal tunnel syndrome, shortness of breath, stomach issues, lower back pain. How does it all add up? If you have heart failure and any of those seemingly unrelated symptoms sound familiar, it's time to talk with your cardiologist and get the full picture. They may add up to transthyretin amyloid cardiomyopathy. ATTR-CM is a rare and underdiagnosed disease. Recognize the signs and discuss them with your doctor soon. Learn more at connectwithyourheart.com. That's connectwithyourheart.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
The roar of our engines, the pump of our heartbeats, the pedal to our metal, the sparks that ignite us, the pistons that push us, the passions that drive us. From the feelings that move us to the places that pull us on the roads that unite us. With nearly 6,000 stores and over 17,000 auto care centers, Napa has America's largest network of parts and care, here to keep you firing on all cylinders.
Hey everyone, Kinner and Kev with you here on behalf of Twin Peaks. We're enjoying the tournament just like all of you. The star players, the upsets, the buzzer beaters. It's all great and all, but what makes it even better, it's where we're watching the games, right, Kev?
That's right, Kenner. Twin Peaks here in Beaver Creek is where we taking in all the action. The games have been great, but their made-from-scratch menu items, along with their wide range of drink selections, makes Twin Peaks the best spot in the Miami Valley to watch all the tournament games.
That's right. We look forward to seeing all of you taking in the tournament at Twin Peaks in Beaver Creek.
Hi, Greg McAfee here with McAfee Heating and Air. There has never been a better time to start a new career. If you are 18 years or older with a high school diploma or GED and enjoy working with your hands, consider the McAfee Apprenticeship Program, where you will learn everything you need through in-class and on-the-job training. Apply today at mcair.com. That's mcair.com.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. Excellent pay, benefits, and a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Apply today, online at CordellTransportation.com. Driven to succeed.
Save big with 11% off everything at Menards. Get a beautiful view with new windows from Jeld-Wen. We have over 100 sizes and styles in stock. Or customize your dream window, any size, any shape, made just for you with our Design and Buy program. Get a 24 by 24-inch sliding window for $79.99 after 11% rebate. Good through April 2nd. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
It's time to hop in to Esther Price Candies and check out their ready-to-go Easter baskets, or create your own basket with their variety of delicious cream eggs, peanut butter eggs, and huge selection of novelty chocolates. Easter is hopping around the corner, so don't wait and come into any of their locations to get your favorites. Give them a call to place your order for shipments or shop online at EstherPrice.com.
The homemade goodness everyone likes. Life's a whole lot sweeter with fine chocolates from Esther Price.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Cookie wants to be a professional wrestler.
I'm Cookie Serratos, and I'm 11 years old.
She also wants to win all the medals. That's why Cookie and her family make every day count, squeezing out her best with Go-Go Squeeze.
Okay, Cookie, let's break for a Go-Go Squeeze.
Go-Go Squeeze fruit-on-the-go pouches are a nutritious snack made from 100% fruit with no sugar added.
Go, Cookie!
Because when you nurture your kids, you squeeze out the best in them. Squeeze out the best with Go-Go Squeeze. Not a low-calorie food. Products range from 11 to 13 grams of sugar and 60 to 70 calories per serving.
Have you Googled yourself lately? Are there negative posts from an ex-employee or a former client? Maybe an outdated news article or sensitive personal information about your family? Search engines don't always get it right, but right or wrong, it's your reputation on the line. That's where Reputation Defender by Norton comes in. One of the most trusted names in online reputation repair, Reputation Defender has been fixing people's search results for over 15 years. Their cutting-edge approaches help you to wipe away unwanted information in your search results. They also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, helping you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. Take control with Reputation Defender. You can start by getting your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com or call 800-401-6681 to speak to an expert. That's 800-401-6681.
Hop into spring and save more at Family Dollar. Gussy up with beautiful dresses and rompers at great prices. Family Dollar, helping you do more.
Hey, it's Max Kellerman, and you're listening to Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 WINGAM.
Kev Nash knows I'm an elitist, so the fact that I have not – are you a little surprised that I have not poo-pooed the Final Four? I didn't know what you were expecting or not.
You know why you can't? Because this is totally different from football. Football, we're allowed to put this would have happened if this would have happened. This would have happened if this would have happened. If this team played this team, they would have won. But guess what? In college basketball, you roll the basketballs out there and they play. So, and we already know it's a one-off. Yeah, you're probably right. If Purdue plays Fairleigh Dickinson 3 times, they probably win to 2 or 3. But guess what? It's a one and done type of situation. And that's why we love this tournament so much. And the other part is it's still entertaining.
Yes.
And I know you all here for the entertainment.
So I had thrown out the question a little bit ago. If I would have told you before the season that it would be, for the men's Final Four, that would be FAU, Florida Atlantic going up against San Diego State, and then Miami Hurricanes against UConn, that is not a very sexy Final Four. But because we followed the journeys of these teams from the opening weekend, it feels like a strong Final Four. The story of Florida Atlantic and their coach, and, being, former Indiana guy under Bobby Knight, which, by the way, he doesn't look old enough to be under Bobby Knight. Good for him. But to hear his story now, like all of a sudden we hear this, we coaches become stars throughout this tournament more, just as much as the players do. And like now college basketball now has a team. I mean, I think next year heading in, we're going to follow this guy. We're going to follow this team. We're going to follow these stories and that type of stuff.
He's
I think
coaching
that's
for
good.
his new team.
His new team. Well, I mean, the talks of, he could be comfortable here because until that, but Woodson's doing a good job over at Indiana.
True.
But we'll see what happens there. But it says good or bad for college basketball, these non-sexy Final Four matchups. Sometimes I get tired of hearing people say all the time, well, all ESPN does, I'm sick of Duke and North Carolina. I'm sick of Kentucky, and I'm sick of these schools. Well, we talked about this last week a little bit. A lot of these networks, the reasons that they continue to put on Duke, North Carolina, and just cram it down your throat is because you tune in. Like, that's the thing. Like, they're not putting it on if it's not generating a rating, and that generates one of the bigger ratings of the season. Same thing with baseball season, opening day coming up this weekend. How many times throughout the season? And I know we carry Sunday Night Baseball, and all the time, oh my gosh, all you guys do is carry the Reds all season. That's great, but then all you do on Sunday nights is carry Yankees, Red Sox. That's because that's what you guys tune in for. You guys complain about it, but that's what you guys tune in for. That's just the reality of it. Well, we say we don't like Duke. We're tired of Duke. We're tired of North Carolina. We're tired of Kentucky. We're tired of the Blue Bloods. Well, guess what? This should be your dream Final Four. But it doesn't always lead to dream ratings. But the ratings have been fantastic from the start of the tournament through the Elite Eight. Now we'll test that theory against the Final Four. Ticket sales, however, in Houston for the Final Four, down 36%. I'm not saying that to say that that's why this is bad, but that is the only negative to this that I could find thus far. Curious what fans think. So Ryan Holzapple on Facebook have said sponsorship money for the NCAA tournament will only grow. The ticket sales for the Final Four mean nothing other than for the schools playing in it. The TV money is so huge, it trumps everything. That's what I said a little bit ago. I don't know if this, for ticket sales to drop, attendance has to drop. Attendance might drop slightly, but we're talking about 100,000 fans or whatever it is, like 60 or 70,000 fans tuning in, attending these games. It's not going to look different on TV. It's not going to feel different playing in front of that many people. I mean, it's just going to be still 3 or 4 times the venue size that you played in throughout the tournament. It's going to be wild.
I think at this point, they need to take the Final Four out of football stadiums and put them back in basketball arenas. Like, they put the biggest game of the season in a football stadium in the middle so they can try to pack it all the way out. And like you talked about the ticket sales going down 30+%, then let's put it back in a basketball arena. I mean, this is basketball, right? Shouldn't we play in a basketball arena? Not every team is used to playing in the dome. I think the only team in college basketball plays in the dome is Syracuse. We always see the shooter percentage dip in the Final Four. It's not because these people can't shoot. It's because, hey, man, the depth perception of the basketball wide open and everything like that. So I would be a fan of putting these back in basketball arenas. It ain't like there's a shortage on those.
I remember in high school, we got a chance to play at the Shot one year. And I'm not going to lie to you, the crazy, I mean, it's not like I got a lot of playing time, but I bring this up only because you hear these things. But then we're warming up before the game, and I'm like, that is the weirdest thing at the Shot, seeing just how far back that goes. And you're keeping an eye on the basketball, like it goes back so far. It's just that's a basketball arena. Don't give it. We're talking about from high school gyms.
I mean,
that's a big jump. But from
think about it. Every high school gym you probably played in, behind the basket is a cement wall. But now you jump into
on it.
You jump into an arena. It's like rows and rows and rows and people, and it plays tricks on you.
So there's that aspect of it. And then there's the fact that sometimes you're on a stage. So then when you're shooting and you have fans around you, but you look down, when you're looking down, you see fans' heads just poking up above the floor. Now that's not every Final Four, but there are some. Remember that Duke Villanova game or North Carolina Villanova game years ago with the game winner. I mean, you could just sometimes you look around, people are standing, but you see them they're standing from the chest up because the way that the court kind of dipped down a bit. It was a wild thing. But let's see, Keith Bond on Facebook, Kev, he says, I think it's a really good thing. He goes, it shows why college basketball will remain a better game than the pros. Was it De'Aaron Fox who said that? Yeah, we'll get to that, I'm sure, coming up. But I understand where he's coming from, but it did sound kind of, it set him up to get kind of pounded on social media. We'll get to that later. But Keith goes on to say the excitement of the underdog continues to live on. Yeah, this has tested my theory all along. I was like, upsets are great for that first weekend, but after that, enough is enough. But this has continued on. I mean, it's not just one upset. It's not just one underdog story. It's 3 underdog stories, and I think UConn was one of the favorites to make a deep run, even a Final Four run for a lot of prognosticators out there, if you will.
I think it's really all going to come down to Monday night, the championship night, whomever those 2 teams are, because I think in the semifinals, both semifinals are going to be close matchups. But the final is something that, everybody's going to tune into. And if that turns into a blowout, then people will be totally out on it, especially like, just say, for instance, it's the traditional power in UConn versus one of these startups, so to speak, San Diego State, and they blow San Diego State out. It's like, see, it's kind of similar to the TCU Michigan type of situation. They were able to pull off the victory over Michigan and then get completely annihilated in the championship game. So whatever credibility TCU built up throughout the rest of the regular season and then punched their ticket to the championship game by beating a power in Michigan went out the window because they got beat down. So I think it's really all going to come down to championship night, how that game plays out. If whomever it is loses by 5-10 points or whatever, they'll be like, okay, fine. But if they get blown out by 30, then people are going to be right back to we need to have North Carolina and Duke in the final. We need to make sure our best teams are playing on the biggest stage.
And let's be clear, there's a good chance that could happen. UConn is just annihilating teams. This is a very good UConn team. This UConn team. The other 3 are getting a lot of attention, as they should. This UConn team is a team that blue blood or not, or underdog or not, or whatever. This team should be here. They deserve to be here. They destroyed Gonzaga.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, at one point it was close, and then I had it on, in the radio, kind of going from point A to point B, and I'm like, did they just say it was a 30-point game? I'm like, and it was like a flip of a switch when it happened. Very wild night there. But UConn, there's a good chance that, for one, that's who I'm having come out of all of this when it's all said and done. I think they're your national champions, and I also think that they win by at least 15+ points over the next 2 games. That's not disrespect to the others, but that they've pummeled everyone by 20+ or 15+ points already throughout this entire tournament run, including Gonzaga, who I think is just as good, if not better, than all the other teams remaining in this tournament. So outside of UConn. So
I like Miami. I think that UConn's going to beat them. I think San Diego State will give UConn a better matchup in the championship game. So that's kind of like what I'm hopeful for, because people hear me say this 1,000,000,001 times. We want the championship game to be the best game. We just want a real good game for the last game of the season. And now we only down to 3 games of the rest of the regular season or season of college basketball. So I'm just hopeful that we get a lot of good competitive basketball like we've been getting all tournament long.
Keith Bond says college basketball got it right with this tournament. It's the best thing still going for any postseason. Gordon Gross on Facebook says Kenner looks like a pick and pop kind of guy. Actually, I'm more of a hamburger and a pop kind of guy, to be quite honest with you. But I'm not really pick and pop. I couldn't really dribble that well. I'm more stand there, and if they pass it to you, still don't shoot it, just pass it. But yeah, hamburger and pop kind of guy, not pick and pop, hamburger and pop. That's for sure. All right, let's talk about the other NCAA tournament going on, the tournament that is also just continuing to generate a ton of buzz. I want to talk about this, and I don't need no dumb jokes or anything like that always come with anytime you try to talk women's sports at all the stuff that comes with it. Because the stat that fascinated me about last year, Kev, when Bree Hall from Wayne in South Carolina, when they beat UConn in the national championship, that attracted 4.85 million viewers. It was the most watched women's or men's college basketball game on ESPN since 2008. Ratings for the first and second rounds of this year's women's tournament are up nearly 30%. And then I actually found myself watching the game that I was into the most over the weekend of all of them was that Ohio State UConn game.
Of course.
UConn just pummeled Ohio State to start early. I shouldn't say pummeled, but it was, what you would expect, right? UConn coming out hot. Then Ohio State, led by Centerville's Cody McMahon. I guess in the second quarter, she had like 9 of their first 11 points. She's a freshman. She helped springboard them to a hot run that they just never really looked back on. And they ended 15 straight years or 16 straight years of UConn in the Final Four.
Yeah.
I mean, and Ohio State's in the Elite Eight, or they're in the Elite Eight for the first time. They played tonight at 9:00, I believe.
Yes.
They're back in the Elite Eight for the first time since 1993. So there's a lot of things happening for the first time, but it's been a fantastic tournament as far as the women's side's concerned. Ohio State's been beyond fun to watch. I mean, there's been a buzz about that women's program from Ohio State since the beginning of the season. They were knocking off big programs in the non-con. And then, of course, they've steamrolled through the Big Ten season. And then here they are right now, pulling off big, not really upsets, but making impressive runs that you're not used to seeing from Ohio State men or women's basketball. So you have Centerville's and Cody McMahon. And then you also have from Wayne, Bree Hall, as I talked about. She plays on probably the current dynasty. Everyone talks about UConn, but honestly, South Carolina, what's going on there with Don Staley and company, and Bree Hall's a part of it. She won a national championship as a freshman last year, averaged about 9 minutes a game and about 2.5 points per game. She's getting about 15 minutes per game now, averaging about a little 5 to 6 points per game. She's, playing a huge role on this, hopefully second year of back-to-back national championships for South Carolina. But it is cool seeing the women's game be elevated. It is cool seeing the ratings, skyrocket for this. I mean, up 30% from last year. That's not like a slight increase. I love it. We're up 2.5% over 30% of the first and second round. It's pretty cool. Ohio State's getting a lot of buzz. South Carolina, of course, the Mulkey lady taking over at LSU. She's easy to dislike, but there's something about her that she looks like a villain. Like if she, if you were going to cast like Corilla DeVille or someone, I think she'd be perfect for that. But she has that unlikability factor, but also that likability factor. If you're a player, you would run through a brick wall for her. She looks like an amazing coach too. What I love about what the women's game has right now that the men's game does not have, I remember this growing up in the NBA, the coaches were just as much the stars as the players. And we're starting to see that in women's basketball, like with Gino and with Mulkey and with Don Staley right now. The women's coaches are just as big as stars. And I think it's a good thing. That elevated the NBA for a long time in the 90s and the 2000s. It's kind of flatlined now. I don't recognize half the coaches in the NBA. But that's what I just find most interesting about all this. How cool would that be to get a national championship with obviously Centerville's Cody McMahon going up against Bree Hall from South Carolina? That'd be pretty dang cool. But yes, the women's tournament, I've had just as much fun watching that as the men's tournament. It's been a lot of fun.
I'll talk about Kim Mulkey for a second. She's a great coach. Baylor's program was nothing till she showed up. 2 natties. LSU's program, she went back home. She's from Louisiana. She went to Louisiana Tech, won a national championship when she was a player. LSU's women's basketball program in the dumps. Now they're in the Final Four. Common denominator, Kim Mulkey. But for me, the women's game has what the men's game used to have on the court. Stars. They have star players. Mackenzie Holmes, Indiana. Zaya Cook, South Carolina.
Bring her up.
Stars.
Yeah.
Stars. You got Angel Reese, LSU. She transferred from Maryland. Her brother plays for the men's team at Maryland. LSU. She's a star. Aaliyah Boston, a star. And Caitlin Clark is the best basketball player in college, men's or women's. Hands down. She's a baller. She's lethal. I mean, people want to call her the female Steph Curry, whatever you want to call her. She's dropping 40. She's getting 10 rebounds. She's getting 10 assists. She does everything for Iowa. And, she kind of reminds me of LeBron James in this way. The Cavs were super lucky to get LeBron James for obviously multiple reasons, but they were able to hang on to LeBron James for as long as they did. And he was coming back because he was from Akron, Ohio. The only reason she's at Iowa is because she's from Iowa. Because in any other universe, she would be playing at UConn. She would be playing at South Carolina. She would probably playing at Notre Dame. But she's from Iowa. That is the reason she's at Iowa. So that brings Iowa's program on the map. She cold. I've been saying it all year. She cold. She's the best basketball player in college right now. And if she wanted to, she could come out of school and be the #1 pick in the WNBA draft. But she'd probably make more money by staying in school.
So with that, so that you talk about Caitlin Clark, and yes, that came in. Gordon Gross right away said Caitlin Clark right off the bat. Ryan Holzapfel, he talked about Cody McMahon from Centerville has been an absolute beast at Ohio State. She's the best freshman to come to Ohio State in 20 years, freshman of the year, and she's playing like a senior. That's what's wild about it all. Bree Hall, only a sophomore at South Carolina, and to do what they're doing is just fantastic. When you bring up Caitlin Clark, she had 40 points, she had a triple-double. Another one. Yes. So Caitlin Clark's 41-point game. It's the top scoring total in a triple-double in any tournament game, men or women. So pretty good stuff there. So tonight, Elite 8 games. Again, Virginia Tech, the 1 seed going up against Ohio State tonight. That's 9:00 on ESPN. And then to watch Bree Hall in South Carolina, they'll be taking on number 2 Maryland tonight, 7 p.m. on ESPN as well. So keep that in mind. South Carolina, Bree Hall won a national championship last year, looking to get back and make it back to back. But Don Staley's a beast as well. I'm a big Don Staley fan.
Absolutely. I'm definitely obviously rooting for South Carolina. And part of the reason I'm rooting for South Carolina is I want to see the best player, Caitlin Clark, go up against the best team. Like, that's a
great story. Right?
Like, all right, let's be real, man. Aaliyah Boston is a monster. Her teammate, Zia Cook, is a monster. And guess what? The rest of the parts around them are great too. But her, Caitlin Clark, she can do things none of them can do. Not a woman, man out there is doing the things that she's doing. So I want to see her go up against that team in South Carolina in the Final Four. And I mean, when you that talented, you can carry a team. Like, they're in every game because she's that good.
Yeah, like I said, this between the men and the women's NCAA tournament, they have carried March. We call it March Madness, but the madness is usually that first weekend. Kudos to both the men and women's tournament because it's been the most talked about tournament that I can't remember a tournament being talked about this much this far into the month of March, with opening day this week, with the draft around the corner, everything else. Usually the tournaments kind of die down a bit, and it's not, and I think that's pretty exciting. So at the end of the day, no matter what's changing with NIL and the transfer portal and all that, I thought basketball was taking the biggest hit of all the sports out there. I think basketball is actually benefiting the most from it, and we've got to see it in full display. The 68 team tournament field. And I can't remember how many teams with the women's tournament. Is that?
It's 68.
68 for both. Yeah, because they have the first 4 as well. Yeah. So great stuff. We're seeing a lot of fun basketball parity throughout, and that's how you get where you're at today. But I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash. We'll step away for a few moments. Earlier today, Dayton Flyers, their athletics department released a statement regarding a couple crucial surgeries coming up for 2 key players this offseason. What does that mean for the perception of what happened or didn't happen this past season? What does that mean for the perception of what's happening next season? The Flyers have lost quite a few players in the portal already, but they did add one this past Friday, and they're in the running for a couple other transfer portal guys to plug some holes on this roster as we await to hear the announcement from Jerron Holmes and what he plans on doing and all that type of stuff. But we'll close out the hour when we come back. Dayton Flyers news. Don't go anywhere.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Spring is here. Rob's Beer Barn is stocked with the newest seasonal beers and refreshments. That means Rob's Beer Barn has you covered for all your needs, including all the March basketball tournament parties. At Rob's, you can find all the ice-cold refreshments you'll need. Craft, imported, local, and seasonal beers, fine wines, snacks, and ice. Plus, Rob's Beer Barn has apparel and gift cards. You can call, walk in, or drive through. Rob's Beer Barn on Indian Ripple Road at Darst, just a mile east of the Green. Rob's Beer Barn, just look for the beaver.
With over 15 years of experience as your local lawn health provider, Lawn Plus knows what it takes to provide a thick, healthy lawn. We offer fertilization and weed control programs, aeration and seeding, as the best defense against weeds is a thick turf. If your current lawn care company is providing 6 to 8 applications, that is far too many. We offer the highest quality products and service to get the best results in just 4 applications a year. Call us today at 937-839-LAWN, and remember, if you give a weed an inch, it'll take a yard.
Who Blue Day Nation, Betfred has come all the way from England to the great state of Ohio with over 50 years of sports betting experience. No emperors, no movie stars, just a sportsbook you can trust. The Betfred Sportsbook app will be available on January 1st, 2023. Until then, download the Bengals app or go to betfredsports.com and have a chance to win Bengals tickets and exclusive merchandise. Official sports betting partner of the Cincinnati Bengals. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966.
Calling all HVAC service technicians. Do you enjoy the work you do but are looking to be challenged by working on large industrial and commercial HVAC systems? If you answered yes, contact Reek Services today. Reek has been servicing commercial and industrial HVAC systems in the Miami Valley for over 130 years, and we're hiring dedicated, talented technicians who are looking for a long-term career in the HVAC service industry. Ask about our generous signing bonus today. Apply at reekservices.com. That's RIECK services.com.
I'm Terry Krupp of Laird's Tax and Accounting, serving this area's tax and accounting needs for over 80 years. If you have concerns about your tax return, we invite you to discover how we can make your tax filing experience easier. If you had a difficult experience in the past, our professional staff can provide the accurate return you want with maximum use of all legitimate deductions. Laird's Tax and Accounting is a trusted name and stands behind your return if the IRS calls. Contact us at 937-325-6571. Information at lairdstax.com.
Do you or any of your family members, neighbors, or friends own a property that you just want to be done with it? If so, call TurboTrack Realty today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Would it be convenient for you to take what you wanted and leave the rest behind? Great, I'll buy it. Call 614-470-2000. That's 614-470-2000.
Here at Roosters, we're not just a fun casual joint. We're a family. No matter who we are serving, our guests or our community, we strive to better the lives of those around us. Whether it's aiding in the battle against cancer, helping to educate the next generation, or simply putting a smile on someone's face, the Roosters Foundation has helped raise over $1 million annually for local charities. Our community has given us so much. This is the least we can do. Roosters, we're a fun casual joint, but so much more.
The Low Post Podcast with Zach Lowe.
Tatum, I think at worst, he's third in MVP right now. He's playing defense at a borderline all defense level. He's too young for these conversations to really start in earnest. If he's a Celtic for life for most of his career, he has a chance to be historically for one of the two historic giants in the league. As great as any player who's ever worn that uniform, including Bird.
Check out the Low Post Podcast on the ESPN app or wherever you listen to podcasts.
O'Reilly.
Protect your engine against sludge and wear with a synthetic oil change. O'Reilly Auto Parts has 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil for $35.95. Plus, get 2 times O Rewards points. Our professional parts people can recommend the supplies you need, including a filter, funnel, shop towels, drain fans, and more. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
By now, you should know Audio Etc. has all the same sales and deals on TVs and projectors as everyone else. But did you know we also have some of the world's best hi-fi? Hi, this is Kirby from Audio Etc. And we do have some of the best home theater, high-fidelity gear on the planet. Not only do we have your favorite brands like Clip speakers and SVS subwoofers, but audiophile greats from Bowers & Wilkins, Kef, NAD, Marantz, Cambridge, Mark Levinson, and plenty of vinyl and tube gear. Plus exotics you only see in the magazines. Stop by today and visit Audio Etc.'s crazy cool showroom and see and audition the best audio and video has to offer. While you're in, check out our huge selection of pre-owned vintage gear. A great way to afford great gear otherwise out of reach, or revisit old classics. Audio Etc. Sound advice you can trust. Audio Etc. 551 Congress Park Drive at the corner of Paragon in Centerville, or call 434-9770.
audio, etc.'s crazy cool showroom.
Hop into spring and save more at Family Dollar. Gussy up with beautiful dresses and rompers at great prices. Family Dollar, helping you do more.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, back with you here on a Monday. I hope everybody enjoyed their weekend and excited to have you guys all hanging out with us here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. So we got this from Doug Hochschild, Dayton Flyers sports information director a little bit ago, their SID, and Dave Jablonski, everyone, had pushed this out a little bit ago. But to no surprise, look, we knew that the Flyers are facing some banged-up players throughout the season. Well, a couple of these players are going to need surgery coming up, Kobe Brea and Malachi Smith. Malachi Smith, of course, had that not really season-ending injury, although it was because it was so late in the season last year. But, came back this year, got banged up early on in the year, missed some games. He played in 19 of the Flyers' 34 games this year. But not the best news for Malachi Smith. Malachi Smith, Kev, will have reconstructive surgeries on both ankles.
Oh my gosh.
Now, I'm not saying that like to make light of that. I'm saying that with the tone I am, because I'm like, what in the blue blank? All right. Smith will have reconstructive surgeries on both ankles. The right ankle procedure will be performed on March 30th, with the left ankle approximately 10 weeks later. I don't know about you, Kev, but if that's March 3rd, so that's later on this week. We're talking 2 months later. That's June. Can you be ready to play? First of all, hope surgeries go well, that he heals up. That's the most important thing.
Right.
Second thing, from a basketball perspective, this is I could see next year being a year where this injury bleeds into that year as well.
Right. Definitely.
Like 2 ankle surgeries. And reconstructive surgeries at that.
Yeah. Like, we as fans think like, all right, you get the surgery, you're all better, but we forget about the whole rehab process.
Yep.
And then the rehab process, and then, oh yeah, okay, I can walk and run again without pain. Oh yeah, now I have to get back into said basketball shape and all that type of stuff. I wish him nothing but the best, because that just sounds scary when you hear anything called reconstructive. My father-in-law had his hip replaced recently, and he's been in therapy and rehab for months now, and he's just now starting to feel better. Obviously, he's a lot older than Malachi, but just to hear those words for somebody that's so young, it's scary, man.
So another guy, in Kobe Brea, he will have rods inserted in both lower legs to address stress fractures that he dealt with in his tibias for the last year. Brea will have his surgery on April 6th. And then goes on just to give some info. Smith played in 19 of UD's 34 games. This last season, he had 16 starts, missed 6 weeks of the preseason and the first 3 games of the year with the left ankle injury. So there's that. And then Brea missed almost all summer and the preseason. He saw action in one of the first 7 games of this year, and then played in the final 27 games. He averaged about 7 points, 4 rebounds, blah, blah, blah. So someone said, Kenner, do you take back any of the stuff you said about the injuries and blah, blah, blah? Without being disrespectful to the players, no, I don't. You were out there. You were good enough. Banged up, yes. Which, by the way, kudos to them.
Yeah.
Because kudos to them. For, he had a bad game. He didn't do this. He didn't do that. Could these injuries have been why they didn't play as efficiently as what was expected? Absolutely. But you're out there. So all opinions about players and teams are based on the product that's on the floor and what's happening at that time. yes, this played a role this season on how they performed and that type of stuff. But it's like when you have those games where you have those big scoring explosions, did you not have an ankle injury? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and I'm not making light of that. I don't even really want to go too far deep into this because what I say will be taken out of context. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to be disrespectful because the news about this is horrible. Last season can't do anything about it. It's done. The only thing you could hope for now is that these two players recover quickly from this and can rehab quick enough. And it's not even about next season. It's just about so they can hopefully continue to play and put themselves in position to continue to hopefully make NIL money for whatever team, hopefully Dayton, all that type of stuff. And it is what it is. But no, it doesn't technically change my views. I mean, you won 20 plus games. You nearly had a player of the year. You had 2 NBA guys. You were, up double digits in the first half of the A-10 title game. No, we can't say that, well, you're good enough to do all this stuff, but this is why you didn't do this. I don't know. Is what it is.
For me, it's just wow, because these aren't normal basketball injuries. Like normally, knock on wood, we hear about, all right, man, he tore his knee up. All right, man, he's got to get elbow surgery. Yeah, like those are like the normal things, like reconstruction of ankles, rods, and tibias. Like, yo, that's serious, man. And, whenever you go under the knife, that's a serious situation. So obviously we're wishing nothing but the best for both young men at these surgeries, and they can bounce back. But yeah, man, like that speaks volumes about their dedication to the team to put themselves back out there on the court in pain, because that just hearing rods and tibias and reconstruction of ankles sounds painful. So think about the amount of pain that they were in practicing, playing in games and things of that nature. And I'm sure, these young men are at their athletic peak. So them not being able to do the moves that they're used to doing, not being able to just blow by people as they've done in years past because of the pain, or they've lost explosiveness because of the injuries that they've had. So it's sports. We look at it as strictly entertainment, and I'm here for the entertainment, but we look at the NFL like that's the only sport that you get injuries in. They get injured in basketball and baseball as well. So I wish these guys a speedy recovery.
So, and then then someone said, well, no, I just got this. Not about the result of the season, getting mad that they didn't play in the NIT. Okay, well, these types of injuries that they have, they didn't suffer these in the A-10 championship game, which means it was probably known that you were going to need both ankles reconstructed months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to start wondering, okay, what was the proper timetable to address those? Like if the Flyers had already addressed this season is off the rails because of all the injuries, let's just shut them both down now. Let's get both surgeries done now, and that that is going to move up the recovery period, and then we could really focus on next year. I don't know. I'm always moving the pieces to try to find the worst scenario, right? Like that's just, what I'll be blamed for, but I don't really know how to assess that. I mean, you were on different sides on that.
I think it's just more
First of all,
about
play in the NIT. That's what I still think they should have played in the NIT. They just said they were too banged up to play. They just played 8 guys in the day before when they announced that. But your thoughts too, like
I just think it's like the juice isn't worth the squeeze, because no disrespect to the NIT tournament, but guys aren't calling the NIT March Madness. They're calling what we're talking about right now, the Final Four. That's March Madness.
Yep.
And it's just simply, all right, I'll risk getting injured for this because we have a chance to play in March Madness and a chance to play for it all and go on a run. I'll risk it for that, but I'm not risking it for the extra tournament, the tournament that really doesn't mean anything, because at the end of the day, whenever they crown the NIT tournament champion, they're not going to be like, oh man, they're the national champion. They're the best in college basketball. Whoever wins the tournament on Monday night, a week from tonight, they're going to be perceived as the best in college basketball. So I still understand where they're coming from. I just don't think the juice was worth the squeeze, especially for the players. Like, all right, I'm willing to put it all on the line to try to get us to the tournament and play in the tournament, but not for the other one.
Kenner and Cav live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. The Flyers have lost 3 players to the transfer portal and already behind the 8 ball as far as the roster makeup is concerned. Obviously, Tumani Kamara graduated. There was at least honored on senior night this past senior night for UD. It's expected to be done, of course. And then obviously you have the fact that Deron Holmes is most likely NBA bound, but Ohio State freshman Bryce Sensabaugh declared for the NBA draft, is able to keep his college eligibility in line, which I love that change from the NCAA years ago, by the way. And he did put in his statement that there's a chance he could come back. I could see a similar situation play out with DeRon Holmes declaring for the draft, going to get evaluated. If he doesn't get told that, hey, you're going to be a mid-first rounder or a lock first rounder, maybe he does decide to come back. I think DeRon Holmes, I mean, he was so close to what he should have won Player of the Year. I think he was robbed of winning Player of the Year for the A-10. He would be the odds-on favorite to win A-10 Player of the Year next year if he did come back to Dayton. So Dayton fans, don't freak out too much. You might get your star big man back, but again, there's going to be some time between now and then when that does happen. But with the players that they've lost, Kev, they did add, and again, a player from where did they? So I'm having a hard time pronouncing this guy's name, Kev, but Vasile Urseg. He's a 6'10" skilled Serbian big man by way of Australia. He committed to Dayton in the class of 2023. This is from Jonathan Giavoni of Draft Express. This came out late last week when we were off the air with the Reds being on. But he's 6'10". Obviously going to be a freshman coming in, but he's a shooter, Kev. Average about 17 points, 8 rebounds. But he shoots 50% from the three in the Adriatic League under 19 league. So there's that. Like, I don't know. My problem is be excited about this. This is a good get. We think, we hope, we trust Anthony Grant's ability to recruit, but look at the Final Four teams. They're all upperclassmen. They're all older. I think that really he's going to have to hit Anthony Grant, and he will, and they will. They're going to plug a lot of these holes in the transfer portal. One name that I'm familiar with is Enoch Cheeks. He played for Robert Morris. He's in the transfer portal. Played at Robert Morris. And again, there was a picture of him over the weekend sporting the the Dayton jersey and everything like that on a recruiting visit and that type of stuff. So, I mean, he's a heck of a scorer too. Very good shooter. I think it's going to have to be making up some holes with that. But Enoch Cheeks, I mean, I could think of a great NIL deal here locally. What?
Nothing.
What?
I'm not.
He might like cars or something, Kev. He might like cars.
Have you ever been to that establishment?
No, that's the rundown one. You go.
To the disrespect.
Oh, not that car dealership.
Is that what they call those
Come
places
on,
now?
Mr. Enoch Cheeks. I can think of a great NIL opportunity for you. I'll be your agent and everything. I'll work it out for you.
Shouts out to all the talent over there.
Not that much talent.
Haven't been there in years.
We'll be right back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Hop into spring and save more at Family Dollar. Gussy up with beautiful dresses and rompers at great prices. Family Dollar, helping you do more.
For adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy, now there's Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months, and Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Nothing and me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin, that's my new plan. Nothing is every day.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, you could achieve 90% clearer skin. Ask your doctor about the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Montgomery County veterans, we're here to serve you. You served your country, and now it's time we served you. You are entitled to many VA benefits, to include compensation, pension, and more. Call 937-225-4801 or online at mcvsc.org.
Hey friends, you don't need to find a pot of gold to strike it rich this March. Instead, win money on your tournament wagers with Superbook Sports. Bo Bishop here, and Superbook features the best team of odds makers in the business. So they're the safe bet when it comes to sports gambling. You have a direct line to their experienced staff behind the counter in Las Vegas. They also have one of the most extensive betting menus around. So no matter what you want to wager on, come tournament time, Superbook is sure to have it. Download the Superbook app, start winning today. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Want to make tonight's dinner a perfect 10? Swing by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken and pick up a 10-piece strips meal for only $24.99 with 10 freshly marinated honey-dipped premium tenderloins, 3 dipping sauces, 2 of our irresistible large sides, and 5 fluffy biscuits. It's family time made from scratch. Take home a top-notch dinner the whole family will love from Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken with our 10-piece strips meal for only $24.99. Only at Lee's. Famous for chicken.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
Hop into spring and save more at Family Dollar. Gussy up with beautiful dresses and rompers at great prices. Family Dollar, helping you do more.
If you're a sports fan in the Miami Valley, make sure you subscribe to Dayton's ESPN Radio YouTube channel. Buckeyes, Browns, Bengals, local high school sports, Dayton Flyers, Wright State Raiders, and more. Search ESPN Dayton on YouTube and subscribe today.
Coming to you live from the Superbook Sports Studios in Kettering. You're listening to Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Hour number 2, Kinner and Kev, back with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash. Live on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page, live on ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel. All right, off and rolling here on a Monday. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it's been just the college basketball season wrapping up, which is unfortunate. It is kind of wild, by the way. I do feel like the tournament just started, and we already, after tonight, we'll know who's in the Final Four for both men and women's college basketball. Opening day for the Reds coming up this Thursday. In fact, Kev Nash and I, thanks to our friends over at Frickers, we are going to be live at Great American Ballpark from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. In fact, we'll be at the ballpark on Wednesday, catching up with all the players, with David Bell and company. We'll kind of get to hang out with them, and then we'll have a lot of great audio and guests on the show on Thursday morning. But yes, it's our Kinner and Kev live from opening day at Great American Ballpark, presented by Frickers, coming up this Thursday morning. Can't wait to kick off the season that way. And I'm here to tell you, I'm not here to sell you on the Reds or try to spin anything positive. They're going to lose quite a few games, but this team is going to be a million times more fun to watch than what they were a year ago. The young talent all over the place. Joey Votto is announced today will not be cleared to play to start the season. So that was the big Reds headline for today. We'll get into more Red stuff throughout the week, but I did just want to remind people Thursday morning, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. You have us on in the afternoon. Make sure you flip us on in the morning and hang out with us. I'm excited. I've never been to Reds opening day. It did sell out. It sold out slower than in years past, but everyone out there is being dramatic about that. Oh, see, no one's going to go. It just sold out slower than it usually does. It just means that people who were hesitant at first, you guys always talk a big game, and then all this, like, I'm not going to watch the NBA again, never going to watch the NFL again, and then by God, you're giving your hot takes on both sports not even a week later, so a year later. It's a bad taste in people's mouths after last year, not because of the losses. Unfortunately, the players are the ones that feel the brunt of our anger when really it's the management that everyone's upset at. But you can't take it out on the players. And a lot of these players have come through the system here in Dayton. So I'm excited for the season. You're excited for your Guardians too. I know that much. So
absolutely.
Do they know that you're going to be pretending to be a Reds fan on Thursday morning? Do you even have Reds garb at all?
I don't have anything in Reds.
Neutral.
I do have a new Guardians jacket that I'm dying to break out. Not sure if I can be able to wear it down there to opening day in Cincinnati, but I'll show you later on. It's nice.
Good.
It's
Sounds
very
good.
nice. It's nice. It's real nice.
I can't fit in anything, or I've gained all my weight back, so I've been trying to get back to what I was a year ago. So, but I
remind
do
me
have
of
a
my
bunch of, yes, a bunch of cool stuff I can wear. I just don't fit in it.
And for the people out there that are concerned about the weather update, 57 degrees, the high, and no rain. Because remember, last week we were trending towards rain, but no rain on Thursday for opening day. It's going to be a good time.
Yep. Jacked about that. That was the weather pretty much yesterday. I got on the golf course. Actually got a little sunburn.
What?
Got a little sunburn.
The sun was out yesterday?
My cheeks are real red. My actually allergies were really bad.
Dude,
my eyes were swollen.
My eyes today are.
My friends kept looking at me funny. They thought I was smoking the funny cigarettes. I'm like, I promise you, it's allergies. I can barely afford this golf trip, much less the funny cigarettes. I mean, come on. Just saying. Anyways, Kenner and Kev, 1410 ESPN Radio. So we talked in the last hour. It was all college basketball for the first hour, which is pretty exciting. Again, I don't think we've ever talked this much college basketball this far into March. Usually after that first weekend of the tournament, interest levels die down. But here we are with a very unappealing from a brand standpoint Final Four, but yet this is one of the most talked about Final Fours that I can remember in quite some time. So good stuff there. The Dayton Flyers, we talked about them in the last part of the show again. So, with Kobe Brea and Malachi Smith both going to be, having some serious surgeries this offseason to heal up for, not just for next year, but for the rest of their basketball careers and stuff. That was, those big surgeries coming up around the corner. So thoughts to both of those guys as they get healed up and ready to go. But got some interesting stuff on there. So they did add a player, a big Serbian player, 6'10", going to be classified as a freshman, I guess. But, this stinks, with the state tournament here in Dayton 2 weeks ago. I remember talking with a lot of guys that cover high school basketball, talked with a lot of coaches. And my favorite part was talking to coaches who have a lot of D1 talent on their roster and talking with them about, like, they feel like they are over the top salesmen right now. They have to work even harder to get their kids' tape out, because it used to be you didn't have to do that schools were reaching out to you, or they got noticed on the AAU scene, and then that would naturally gravitate coaches to your high school program, and that's where relationships are developed with coaches, yada, yada. That has slowed down tremendously. So now when you have colleges who are announcing that, we signed this freshman from this high school, a lot of fans are not as excited as what we used to be when we hear this. So I don't know how excited UD fans are about the big guy that they got from Serbia, but I will say that you hear this stat. So this was about the Elite Eight starters, as we talked about. It was just about the Elite Eight starters before the tournament tipped off over the weekend, Kev. 19 of the players of starters for the Elite Eight were all transfers. 16 of them were seniors. These are all upperclassmen, all experienced basketball players. The teams that have made deep tournament runs this year, as we're a few years in, basically 2 years into this NIL thing, year 3 or however you want to word it, it's experience. It's sports are all about copycat, scenarios. If the sample size of tournaments continues to increase, where it's all upperclassmen, it's all transfer portal type players, I think it's only going to bury high school basketball as far as the transfer, as far as the recruiting aspect is concerned, more and more. That is the big concern throughout. Multiple coaches told me at the state tournament that college coaches are just being upfront with them and honest. My job's on the line.
Right.
Am I going to spend all my time, money, and resources on a freshman that may not even, I may not even ever get to coach or see past their freshman year? Or am I going to go get a guard in the portal that averaged 17 a game, that can also pull down about 8 to 9 rebounds a game, that can also dish out for 4 or 5 and can come in and make me a contender right away? I'm going to give every bit of time and energy that I have to that player at the expense of building a program, because I got to keep my job, got to keep the train rolling. And ADs and they're not patient anymore. And boosters aren't patient. And the reason ADs are losing power, Kev, it doesn't matter if the ADs have faith in you. If Neil Sullivan has all the confidence in the world in Anthony Grant, right? He could have all the, but if these little UD boosters that run everything, if they lose patience with Anthony Grant, now we have a problem. That's not right, by the way. I think it's gross. I don't think that's fair. I think the AD should be able to have a vision for what they want the programs to resemble, and the same thing with the coaches. But you have these, money guys, these money bags that get to make the decisions and stuff. And I think that that's what is just what's most fascinating about how quickly we're seeing a shift and change of philosophy when it comes to college basketball recruiting. And we're seeing it in this NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and I saw the head coach from FAU talking about players were getting poached during the tournament. Like they were getting phone calls, like they won their first 2 round games, and they started getting DMs and their phones started blowing up from, bigger programs trying to poach them away. So like it is happening at every level of basketball. I think what ultimately is going to happen is guys are going to go D2. They're going to play well at D2, and then they're going to transfer to D1.
Yep.
Just like that. I mean, we talked about the kid from Columbus who played at a D2 school, and then his coach got the Fairleigh Dickinson job, and then he transferred to Fairleigh Dickinson. I think that's ultimately what's going to happen. It's just going to be almost like a round robin type of situation. Guys that, don't get D1 scholarships, they'll go D2, and then they'll play well there and then jump up a level to D1.
So Steve Stetler, Steve, welcome. Hope you had a good weekend. He says good luck to the Lady Bucks tonight. We did talk about them a little bit ago.
9 o'clock.
Yes. I mean, that is going to be late, but yes, Ohio State women's basketball tonight, Elite Eight. They haven't been to the Elite Eight since 1993, and they're led by, they have one of the top freshmen in the country from Centerville, and Cody McMahon, who just has been dominant throughout this entire season. She's had a dominant freshman season, but she had a big game against UConn the other night. Excited to see Ohio State have a chance to knock off number 1 Virginia Tech, or a 1 seed Virginia Tech from their region to get to the Final Four. That'll be exciting. That'll be coming up later on tonight. But yes, you have Ohio State, Cody McMahon from Centerville. You have Bree Hall from Wayne over at South Carolina, Don Staley and company. I mean, it's been a fun college basketball tournament all around. But yes, hearing from coaches, Kev, that's been the most fascinating thing. And they're not wrong. And by the way, people rip coaches for that. You're not going to recruit my high schooler because you're more worried about your job. Yes. Otherwise, how do I have time to worry about your high schooler if I don't have a job that puts me in a position to worry about him to begin with? Like,
true.
I mean, I think right now coaches are finding that balance, and I think that's what's going to be.
I can appreciate the honesty.
Yep.
If a coach is telling you one thing and they're doing something else, then that's what I have a bigger problem with. But if they're upfront and honest and telling, other coaches or even players that they're talking to, then I really don't have a big problem with it. I appreciate the honesty.
So the reason we brought this up, and I should have started with this, someone had sent in a note to the show asking, they don't understand, like when you guys say NIL should be weeding out the mid-majors. How is this helping the mid-majors? Great question. The reason that is, and something else I heard a lot during the state tournament when it was at Dayton a few weeks ago, was that it's disappointing how many, and this guy, George Howard, he's a coach out of Columbus. He knows the youth basketball scene real well. We were talking, and he goes, he was really disappointed in how little mid-major coaches were at some of the bigger D1 games with the D1 talent. And he said, here's why. He goes, mid-major coaches, okay, whether it's, and by the way, this is not a slight at anybody, and I have no clue if Wright State or any of these teams were there or not, but like Wright State's a prime example. Maybe years ago, Wright State would not even dream of the idea of going to watch a game of a guy that's looking at Duke or North Carolina or others, right? He goes, that's such the wrong mindset to have right now. He goes, because Duke, North Carolina, some of these programs are not looking at these kids anymore. Because, and it's not even about the Duke, North Carolina, it's about maybe your Ohio States of the world and stuff too. You have just as much of a shot to get a kid that Ohio State's after right now, because Ohio State's going to put more effort into the portal, and some of these bigger programs put effort into the portal. Mid-major teams now can swoop in. They could swoop in and grab these kids while they're coming out of high school right now and kind of help develop them. Does that hurt them and they lose them over time? Probably. But he was disappointed. He never said Wright State, by the way. I'm using a local team as an example. He was just saying how disappointed he was is that these mid-major coaches are not figuring it out, that they have now is the best chance that they have ever had to get some of these top talents coming out of high school, because they may be some of their only offers.
Right.
There's good, legitimate talent that's not getting offers because high school, as we talked about, college coaches spending more attention to the transfer portal, giving more attention to the transfer portal than they are the guys coming up through the pipeline in high school. So,
and if you get a supremely talented guy that's kind of overlooked by some of the high major schools, and he comes to your school and balls out and ultimately transfers or whatever, guess what? He balled out for your school. So that gives you more credence to go get the next guy.
Yep.
You have a kind of a show and prove message like, hey, I was able to recruit Johnny Smith. He averaged 20 for us. Now he's playing for Kentucky, averaging 15. Come here, show your worth, and then maybe you can go into the next place. And chances are, if Johnny Smith is averaging 20 for your team, you're probably dancing in March.
It's wild, nonetheless. Either way, it's whatever the reason is, it has led to a great tournament. 518-1410. Kev, who we got?
We got.
Did you say Jeff? I think it was
Jeff.
Jeff, sorry,
Frank,
my friend.
Jeff.
Jeff, is this you?
Guys, how are you?
I am doing great. Kev's doing great. How are you?
Oh, love talking to you guys. I listen to you every day. You guys do a great job. I'm in the car with all my different jobs all the time, but I got to really, really come down on you hard, both of you.
Oh, wow.
This tournament, guys, just listen. Just hear me out, and then if I say anything that's out of line, you just hang up on me, and I'll know my opinion didn't matter.
Unless your name's
This
Shaw, I'm not
tournament
hanging up on you, sir. I'm not going to hang up on you.
Okay, this tournament has turned out to be nothing but a mitigated disaster.
Okay.
Let me explain.
You're good. I want to hear it.
Watching these guys, the Drew Timmies of the world that have been there 9 years, walk around nobodies at UCLA, and then he gets in with two good big guys at UConn, and they basically shut him down. These guys, guys like who's the guy at Alabama? Miller. Is it Miller?
Mm-hmm.
3 of 19, 1 of 10 from three the other night, and 6 turnovers. I constantly see guys take the ball to the basket. They make a power move. They get fouled. They go to the foul line. And they brick 2 free throws. Florida Atlantic the other night has 23 turnovers and still advances to the Final Four. Is that what people want to watch, guys?
So you're talking.
Or
You're not a fan of it. Is it the quality of basketball that you're? It sounds like it's the quality of basketball you're not happy with.
I'm watching. I watch San Diego State, and I work so many different jobs, guys. I just catch bits and pieces. I watched them for 10 minutes in the second half yesterday, and it looked like a bricklayer's convention. They just brick and miss layups, miss both free throws, air balls. Is that where college basketball is?
Kev,
it's because all the one and dones are in the league, and we're watching the aftermath. I don't know. I'm not enjoying it one bit. I have no interest in watching Florida Atlantic.
Well,
wow.
I mean, I totally understand
where you hit a low point in your basketball career if you're watching Florida Atlantic. But I'm going to let you guys respond, and I'm going to listen for a minute.
I totally
Thanks,
understand.
Jeff.
I totally understand where you're coming from, but Florida Atlantic, Miami, UConn, and San Diego State earned their way to the Final Four. They weren't voted in from a committee. They weren't voted in by coaches saying, oh, yeah, we would have beat them if they played us or our conference is better. They earned their way to the Final Four. So we have to give them props and credit for that. As far as the level of basketball, and this kind of is about the De'Aaron Fox comments or whatever, this is college basketball. This isn't professional basketball. And when you see high school basketball and then you watch the college basketball game, you kind of like, wow, look how much the talent gap is. Look how much better these guys are than those guys. And then you take a look at, obviously, the NBA level versus the college level, the shot making, the creativity, the athleticism is on 10. They say it 1,000,000,001 times. They run those commercials about the NCAA. Over 90% of college athletes will never play professional sports. So 9 times out of 10, you're not looking at a whole bunch of professionals out there on the basketball court, but you still get competitive basketball games. I don't think necessarily dudes need to be shooting, 95% from the free throw line and shooting threes at a 50% clip like they're Steph Curry to make it entertaining.
So, and again, I think there's a lot, and this is why I brought this up earlier. Jeff is not wrong in thinking that, because if you're not a big college basketball fan, and it sounds like he is not, like, so, and again, for fans like Jeff who just called in, and I appreciate Jeff's take on this because it is different than everyone else's, and that's what I wanted to hear. I was like, okay, is everyone on board with this? Does everyone think that this is great? Florida Atlantic against San Diego State and Miami against UConn. If I was to tell you that was the Final Four heading into the season, I don't think many people would have said, man, I can't wait, Kev. I mean, like, I know I wouldn't have. I would have told you, okay, Kev, that's horrible. I mean, we're just coming off this TCU and the college football playoff thing. I don't know if I could handle it. All right. But as I said, with the reason, if you follow the entire tournament, what makes this so unique and special is the fact that you watch them from round 1 to now.
Yeah.
Then you feel a part of the journey a little bit. Okay. With TCU, the problem in college football with TCU made the playoff, the first time that we watched TCU really would have probably been that Big 12 championship game in which they lost. Okay. Now they hung in there with Michigan, of course, and then they got, they beat.
No, they didn't hang in there with
Michigan.
They beat
Michigan.
They didn't hang in there. There you go. They beat Michigan.
They didn't hang in there at all in the national championship.
Right. And that's what I said about in the first hour. Like, it's really all going to come down to championship night, because if whoever's in the championship game and they get blew out, then people are going to totally flip to the other side. like that championship game has to be competitive. Even though there's been brand name teams blown out in the championship, I'm old enough to remember when UNLV beat Duke by 35 in the national championship game. So shouts out to Christian Laettner.
Yes, and it's been a while. I had him on the show one time, and he cussed too much, and that's
really,
yeah.
Really.
We did a conference call with him, not a conference call. We did a call with him earlier in the day. We recorded it and just kept dropping every bomb you could think of. I'm like, dude,
man,
like, yeah.
If people do their research on Christian Laettner, people think like Christian Laettner, clean cut,
he's an
all American. Yeah, like he's like cut from the same cloth as Bobby Hurley or something like that, who went to St. Patrick's, the same high school that Kyrie Irving went to. Go do your research about.
He's a head case.
He's out there. Like, he's out there and he's about that life. Like,
so yeah. Now usually I get a kick out of that stuff, but I'm like, come on, man. Like,
I wasn't on the show then, so it's all good.
Well, that was back when I was on my best behavior and I didn't have a personality yet, and I'm trying to figure out who I am at the time. And I was like, oh, that's not, you can't do that. You can't do that. You know,
now if he would call
new management
with that,
too, different management at the time too.
I would be having anxiety if he called. I'm anxious every time we take a phone call because I'm scared they're gonna do something.
What's wild about this Final Four, by the way, on the men's side, again, UConn's been here. They've won multiple national championships, but 3 teams. I mean, we've seen Loyola. We see that one Cinderella team move far. You know, we almost saw Dayton get to the Final Four when they played Florida years ago in the Elite Eight, right? Like years ago, by the way, that was a while ago. We're getting further and further removed from that Elite Eight run. And like, it used to feel like we could sail a few years ago, but man, that was a while ago. But how about this? Florida Atlantic, San Diego State, and Miami. And Miami's not a mid-major program, okay? But this is all 3 of these programs. This is their first ever appearance in the Final Four. Never been to the Final Four before. Never won a national championship. So outside of UConn, who I think is the favorite right now of all of these 4 to come out on top when it's all said and done, anyone but UConn, we will see a new champion crowned, a new head coach. By the way, we will see a new head coach win a championship, which is pretty cool. Miami's coach led, was it the VC? No,
George Mason, yeah.
16 years between appearances, by the way. So
crazy,
wild, nonetheless. 518 Steve Stetler, by the way, brings up a good point. Steve says Pitino will build his whole team from the portal and NIL. Well, absolutely. That's why Rick Pitino confidently said this isn't going to be a year or 2 rebuild. This is going to be a couple-month rebuild.
And to your point, that's why ADs and boosters are so on these coaches so rough, because they've seen teams get built through the portal so quickly. I mean, you take a look at a different sport, college football. You've seen Florida State hit the transfer portal. You've seen USC hit the transfer portal, and they're back to being relevant on the college football scene after missing bowl games for multiple years. And then they come back and win double-digit games because of the transfer portal. I mean, you look at the FAU team loaded with transfers. So, yeah, they're right. Like, the money guys are right. Like, well, if they're doing it with transfers, why can't you do it with transfers? So they have a right.
And that's why with Dayton, it gets tiring every year being told, well, the first year Archie Miller left the cupboard bare. The second year, well, he's just getting his guys in and getting situated. The third year, they take off. 2020, everything's rolling, right? Then 2021, well, we're still having the hangover from COVID. 2022, then it's like, you're starting, they're still a little bit younger. It's a new group of guys. And then this last year, well, everyone's injured and blah, blah, blah. It's like you see these teams that are similar making these runs. You look at a team like Florida Atlantic. You look at a team like San Diego State. They're in the Final Four. This is why, and I saw this a lot on social media over the weekend. If you're Dayton, doesn't matter how, okay? It doesn't matter how, just get in the tournament. Just get in the tournament and anything can happen at that point. But I totally get why people are frustrated with Dayton not getting into the tournament. I'm tired of the excuses year in and year out, because every year it's something new. And then, by the way, if they don't make the tournament next year, it's going to be, well, Deron Holmes left and Malachi and Kobe Bray's injuries and all that. And it's like, come on, like at some point, these little tournament runs work against Dayton, because look at these. I mean, San Diego State, that was another team in 2020 that was having a magical run. They were having a magical year. And then they had to come to a screeching halt, just like Dayton and every team did. Well, here San Diego State is years later in the Final Four, a game away from a national championship, and they're not saying, well, it's taken us a while to get back because in 2020 everything blah blah. The excuses have to stop. Dayton has more money, they have more resources, they have a just as good a coach as these guys. I like Anthony Grant. People think I don't. I do like Anthony Grant. I'm just tired of the excuses and just the results not being there. Way too many excuses being made for a program that has just as many, if not way more resources in these programs in the Final Four right now. They should be there, especially, I mean, if anything, with the way that the landscape has opened up, Dayton, things have evened out big time. Next time Dayton goes on a deep tournament run, it's not going to be that, like when they went with Archie Miller to the Elite Eight. That was a Cinderella run, right? Right? Remember when Archie did the interview? I think it was on ESPN or CBS. I can't remember which network it was, but they thought they were talking to Sean. Trust me, that's no longer the case. All these teams are going to be household names now. You're going to be that's not the case anymore. Dayton won't be a Cinderella team next time they make a tournament run because the money, the resources, the arena, the quality of players that Anthony Grant's bringing in. Like, no more. Like, the excuses have to stop. There's no excuse. You look at these teams in the Final Four. If they hold that double-digit lead in the first half, they just get to the tournament. You have Tamani Kamara, you have Deron Holmes. They're just as good as they could beat these teams, or at least compete with these teams. I don't know. I'm just tired of the excuses. That's all. Nonetheless, Kenner and Cab, 1410 ESPN Radio. I know we have a couple callers on hold. We'll get to coming up here around the corner. Adam Selzner says FAU winning would be great for college basketball. How about that story, by the way? Dusty May. They're only the third number 9 seed ever to pull off this feat. All right. And they knocked off Kansas State in the good one. But Dusty May is a very good story. In fact, he was the story from CBS. I'll go into more detail on it. But I mean, he cried after accepting the job. When he accepted the job before stepping foot on campus years ago and realized that he thought he had made a career suicide decision because their resources, everything that they have on campus, it was just a joke. And yet here they are years later in the Final Four. I mean, it's the quality of coaching. You can overcome that stuff. It's wild to me. But yeah, that Florida Atlantic story is pretty good. Plus May, I think, is that name that no one's really talked about a lot that will now be every time a big job opens up, I think you're going to hear his name a lot like we do every year, nonetheless. Steve also says Blue Blood runs are finished. Portal has changed it all. I don't know if it's finished, but you know what has to happen? They have to make an adaptation as well. Kentucky made the decision to lean the one and done route when no one else would. Now everyone started leaning into that, or at least the like teams of Kentucky, right? And then, Duke did not want to lean into the one and done run. Coach K hated that. And then he found out how he could find the best of both worlds. He could still recruit and develop and bring in the Luke Kennards of the world to sprinkle in, although he was only 2 years with Duke, by the way. Then he can compete around the one and duds and plug holes that way. That's why Duke took off the way they did in the mid-2010s like that. So early 2010s, I should say. But I think that once Kentucky and some of these other programs realize that we can go to the transfer portal and we can just load up our roster. I mean, you can make super teams out of the portal. I think that's where we're going to head. I think the next stage of this is the Blue Bloods are going to get tired of getting beat up by these teams in the NCAA tournament. Eventually, you're going to see those teams spend less time in the high school scene, unfortunately, and they're just going to say, okay, forget it. Kentucky, we're going to make a elite starting lineup 1 through 5 with the best players in the portal. And then we'll complement it with some, high school pieces that will develop over the years. But overall, I'm really fascinated to see what kind of changes are made because Kentucky's not going to put up with this. All right. Duke's not going to put up with that. Like adaptation, these schools will adapt. And I'm just fascinated to see how they adapt. And if they don't, then we're going to get a lot more Final Fours like this. Appreciate the feedback. Appreciate the interaction on the social media side of things. I know we have some callers on hold. Kev will be back with us on the other side, and we'll get to your calls next. Don't go anywhere. Kenner and Kev, 1410 ESPN Radio. Don't worry. We'll get to this Lamar Jackson thing coming up around the corner as well.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
The forecast says light rain and mostly cloudy skies, 34 tonight. Partly sunny, chance of rain in the afternoon tomorrow, 50 our high. Mostly sunny, 55 for Wednesday. I'm Rick Schrepp for 1410 ESPN Radio.
The tournament is heating up, and there is no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. That's because right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet does not win. Just go to FanDuel.com/Kinner, Kinner, and sign up today to claim your no-sweat first bet. Then you can wager on everything from the money line to point spreads to which team will be cutting down the net. I know people still don't trust the Big Ten, but keep an eye on on Michigan State. All on an app that is safe, secure, and super easy to use. So don't miss your shot at a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/Kenner to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Must be 21 and older and present in Ohio. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions do apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Healthcare.gov is here for you when life happens. If you lost your health coverage because of turning 26, going off Medicaid, leaving your job, or moving, you could be eligible to enroll in new coverage now. And if you need to update your coverage because of marriage or having a baby, you could also be eligible. But don't wait. There's a limited time to enroll. Check your eligibility at healthcare.gov today. Life happens. Get covered. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Hey everyone, Kenner and Kev with you here on behalf of Twin Peaks. We're enjoying the tournament just like all of you. The star players, the upsets, the buzzer beaters. It's all great and all, but what makes it even better, it's where we're watching the games, right, Kev?
That's right, Kenner. Twin Peaks here in Beaver Creek is where we're taking in all the action. The games have been great, but their made-from-scratch menu items, along with their wide range of drink selections, makes Twin Peaks the best spot in the Miami Valley to watch all the tournament games.
That's right. We look forward to seeing all of you taking in the tournament at Twin Peaks in Beaver Creek.
By now, you should know Audio Etc. has all the same sales and deals on TVs and projectors as everyone else. But did you know we also have some of the world's best hi-fi? Hi, this is Kirby from Audio Etc. And we do have some of the best home theater high-fidelity gear on the planet. Not only do we have your favorite brands like Clip speakers and SVS subwoofers, but audiophile greats from Bowers & Wilkins, Kef, NAD, Marantz, Cambridge, Mark Levinson, and plenty of vinyl and tube gear, plus exotics you only see in the magazines. Stop by today and visit Audio Etc.'s crazy cool showroom and see and audition the best audio and video has to offer. While you're in, check out our huge selection of pre-owned vintage gear. A great way to afford great gear otherwise out of reach, or revisit old classics. Audio Etc. Sound advice you can trust. Audio Etc. 551 Congress Park Drive at the corner of Paragon in Centerville, or call 434-9770.
Audio Etc's crazy cool showroom.
Have you heard about the Montgomery County Clerk of Courts Help Center? We provide legal information, programs, and resources that may be available to you. The Help Center cannot provide legal advice, but we can provide information on a variety of topics, including expungements, protection orders, identity theft, and more. We are out in the community several days a week, and we've recently partnered with the Dayton Metro Library's many locations. Visit courthouse2u.com to learn more. Brought to you by Montgomery County Clerk of Courts, Mike Foley.
Yes, we do have availability. Those dates for how many guests?
Andrea's Boutique Hotel is the destination to tie the knot.
Oh, you want the whole property?
She needs an assistant to catch the bookings bouquets.
249 guests, huh? Oh, and 3 dogs.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Go to 4hims.com/joy. At Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation and discreet shipping if prescribed. You'll love your results. To start your free online visit, go to 4hims.com/joy. That's FORHIMS.com/JOY.
If you own a small business, you've probably been hearing a lot about the ERC, how it's worth up to $26,000 per employee, how easy it is, you know the spiel. So why am I still talking to you about it now? Because many of you still haven't filed a claim, but Innovation Refunds can help you close the book on this thing. They're backed by one of those big CPA firms the corporations use, so they can determine once and for all if your business qualifies. And it's free to find out. Go to innovationrefunds.com. That's innovationrefunds.com.
You know, I grew up hearing that women are bad with money. But like many of you, I spent years paying bills, managing checking accounts, and taking care of my family. So turns out women are pretty good with money after all. And now I'm taking control of my financial future by saving for retirement. It's never too late to start, and there's a great website to help you. check out WeSaySaveIt.org and jumpstart your retirement savings on your budget and your timeline. That's WeSaySaveIt.org, brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hop into spring and save more at Family Dollar. Gussy up with beautiful dresses and rompers at great prices. Family Dollar, helping you do more.
The Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. Hang out with College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byers every Monday at noon on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Man, it's been a college basketball heavy show today. Not bad for a season, Kev, that no Ohio State, no Dayton, no Wright State, no local teams at all.
No
Not even-
Syracuse.
There's no local tie-in to the men's tournament. Lots of local love in the women's tournament.
Yeah.
Bree Hall, South Carolina, of course. Obviously, Cody McMahon from Centerville with Ohio State. They'll be in action tonight. Women's basketball again, Elite Eight. Ohio State looking to get back to the Final Four. They're in the Elite Eight for the first time since 1993. I also didn't realize, with UConn, 15 straight years of being in the Final Four, which, again, we always expected there. But I didn't realize it had been 15 straight years of Final Four appearances that Ohio State put to an end over the weekend. So
Crazy.
it's pretty cool. And Tamika Williams, Jetter, the Flyers women's coach, she played for UConn, of course.
Yep.
So, very interesting nonetheless. So other news, college basketball out of here. Rodney Terry has agreed to a 5-year contract to become Texas's full-time coach. This whole run with him has been very interesting. Like when they fired Beard, you thought it was just going to snowball and get out of control and just the season would slip away, and give Terry a lot of credit. He came in, and Rodney Terry, again, he's coached at UTEP before. He's coached many years. He's not been a great coach by any means. I shouldn't say that. That's not fair. There's a lot of great coaches that sometimes the win-losses don't always reflect that. The win-losses did not reflect that. His win-loss resume would not attract a lot of teams out there. In fact, that's why he was an assistant in Texas, stayed in the state after, being the head coach at UTEP for a while. And I was on the opposite side. Everyone's like pressuring to, why haven't they hired him? Make it make sense. Doing all the usual, make it make sense. We got to have a segment, by the way. I think we are. We are. Oh, that just popped in. We're going to have a segment. I'll figure out how to make it work. But we're going to make it make sense. That's what we're going to call a segment eventually. But everyone doing the make it make sense. What took so long? Why isn't Texas hiring him? Now they hire. Everyone on Twitter. Well, it's about time. Here's why I would not have done it, is because you got to make sure that although he may have been the guy that was right for the job right now, is he the guy that's right for the Texas job long-term moving forward? I don't know. I don't have that answer. But sometimes you've been a coach long enough that you could look at multiple stops, and he's just a slightly above 500 coach at every stop. He's a good coach.
Right.
Guys respond to him. But it's Texas basketball. They've had a lot of good coaches that get a little out of guys here and there. I'm glad they hired him, but I was also not going to be on the, oh man, they made a huge mistake that they didn't. It reminds me, and I pulled this up to, for reference here, but remember when Greg Marshall was fired years ago from Wichita State?
Yeah.
And then it was a lot of the same thing, because what ended up happening, Isaac Brown replaced Greg Marshall. Wichita State had great success. They made the tournament that year. Everyone said the same thing. Oh my gosh, look, they didn't even need Greg Marshall. It's just a culture thing there. Wichita State, they just keep going no matter what. It doesn't matter who's the coach. Well, Isaac Brown was just, let go. He was just let go about a week or two ago. Nothing against Isaac Brown, but it was one of those, he was the guy to get them through that season. Remember, he was canned right before the season started. He kept everyone together. They fought through adversity. They made the tournament. They had success. He just got let go 3 years later. This reminds me of that in some aspects, like where you have that success initially, you keep the team's focus at hand. I wonder if that's what's going to happen with Coach Terry. I'm not rooting for him to fail by any means, but there are examples like this one where Wichita got bullied. They didn't want to do this. There was rumors of Thad Matta. There were rumors of big names out there for that Wichita job, but they were not bullied, but they did fall for the pressure of the social media and stuff. And I think that's what happened here with Texas, but only time will tell. I don't think they're wrong for hiring him. I don't think they're right for hiring him. I think it's just, we'll see what happens. But this, as you learn college basketball, he may have been the right guy for this group, But can he recruit? Can he get Texas back to where they were? Can he sustain what he did this year? That's going to be the big question.
Right. He was the lead assistant under Chris Beard, and obviously he was the guy to go to when the whole situation happened with Chris Beard, and he was fired from Texas because he had a ton of experience. You know, the guy that I'm most familiar with being the Texas head coach is Rick Barnes, and Rick Barnes has had, I mean, we're talking like Rick Barnes took over the Texas job, I want to say like in maybe 99, 2000, somewhere around there. You think about some of the guys that he's had on those teams at Texas. We're talking about, obviously, Kevin Durant played for him. What's the point guard that got drafted by him? TJ Ford, like National Player of the Year candidates.
Why I remember that? But
yeah, I mean, he was a monster, and they went to the Final Four. They lost to my beloved Syracuse in the Final Four, by the way. Royal Ivy, like tons of big name guys, and they were never able to get it done. And then they went on to Shaka Smart and to Chris Beard. And in this situation, I wasn't necessarily saying, oh man, they need to hire him right now, but kind of like, all right, let's play out the season and then move forward. And I was really rooting for them, and I had them in my Final Four because of the coaching job he was doing, kind of galvanized the guys. I mean, dudes could have splintered and went in a million different directions after the guy that they initially came there to play for, Chris Beard, was fired, and all the things that he was involved with. So for him to keep the team together and then continue a great season, that's partly why I had them going to my Final Four. And they were up 12 in the second half, and they were looking like they were going to punch the ticket and have my only Final Four team make it. But Miami came to play, and they ultimately lost to Miami. I think it's a quality hire. For me, it's always like kind of like one of those questions, like if not the guy that you have in place that the players are responding to, who you're going to go get. And I know people automatically are going to go to, you know, the names that are always out there, and the legendary coach that he is, Jay Wright. Like that's like the next guy out there that everybody's clamoring to. I mean, should we hear Jay Wright's name attached to the Philadelphia 76ers? We hear his name attached to every big college name out there. So for me, I don't have a real big problem with them bringing in Coach Terry as the official head coach, no longer the interim coach. And I had no problem with them waiting till the season was over to name him the full-time head coach.
And to be clear, as I said earlier, although the athletics department makes the decision, there was a lot of people that they had to check with. Like if he got hired, that means boosters signed off on it. That means NIL partners signed off on it. That means, when I say NIL partners and boosters, kind of the same thing, but there's so many different groups of people now that have to sign off or at least show that, okay, we will financially support this. Mm-hmm. They may not have a position with the athletics department, but will you financially support this? Because it takes one donor, one big donor, and there's a lot of donors and a lot of money in Texas saying, if you go this direction, we're not comfortable continuing to spend our money. We wanted a big name hire. We thought we had that with Chris Beard. Plucked him away from Texas Tech. Now he's at Ole Miss, of course. But yes, like I said, this just reminded me a little bit of that Wichita State situation. I say that, and that's what's wild too, because with Brown, the interim coach, this back in 2020 when Greg Marshall resigned, I think it was like the beginning of November, right before the season started. Again, kept him on track. They had a good team. They made the tournament that year, and coach finished above 500 the rest of the way, but never made it back to the NCAA tournament. Now, the former Maryland coach, I always mispronounce his name. Either way, he's being rumored for the next Wichita State job, but it's going to be interesting. Nonetheless, but 518-1410, 518-1410. Like I said, no problem with him getting the job. And by the way, all I see is Gus Fring. By the way, I don't know about you, Gus Fring. It's the glasses. They did it. He was watching the game the other day, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got like major like Gus Fring vibes. Nonetheless, I guess one of the officials, someone had screenshotted it. I have to go find it. One of the officials was bald with the goatee in one of the games, and it just said, oh, nothing to see here, just Walter White and Gus Fring just chopping it up on the sideline at the game or whatever. But I thought that was pretty interesting nonetheless.
I forgot about Greg Marshall getting fired, like alleged abuse and stuff like that. That was
his
crazy.
Name hasn't popped up at all for any other jobs, and like you see a lot of other coaches. I mean, I guess that was a year or two. No, that was so close to the Bobby Knight documentary that got released. You remember that? Remember that was released during COVID or a little before COVID.
Was it?
Yeah, because it was right around when he got honored by Indiana. Remember, it was real close to when he got brought back by Indiana when they met at half court and everything.
Why does that seem like it's so long ago?
It's 2 or 3. I mean, it was three or 4 years ago, but so was Greg Marshall 3 or 4 years ago.
Greg Marshall seems like, I know it wasn't last year, but it seems last year. But it seems like that the doc about Coach Knight was like, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years ago.
It would have been 19 or 20
Okay.
when that came out. I just remember because Summer and I we had Heather Dinich on. Did you know the cool thing about Heather Dinich, who's the lead college football reporter for ESPN? She worked, and I forgot what the student newspaper is in Indiana, but Bob Knight hated the local media in town, hated, but he really liked Heather from the student newspaper. So all the local media, and even national media was trying to get interviews with Bob Knight. He would not grant it. So when all the drama was going down, he granted her, a student newspaper writer, all access, full access. He sat down, he invited her and the other student writers to his home. It's documented. I believe it's in that documentary, or Heather Dinich at least talked. We had Heather Dinich on to talk about it, and she just shared how nice he was to her. She goes, so she was always conflicted. She had to report on all these awful things that are happening, but she goes, he was so kind to her, so nice to her, gave her full access. Now she goes, I was technically being used as a pawn, as like a middle finger to all national media that, hey, we're using I'm going to give full access to student newspaper writers before I give USA Today or anything, any kind of, anything in Bloomington or whatever. But yes, I've always found that fascinating about Heather Dinich, that she was, one of the lead reporters, kind of leading a lot of that stuff.
Hey, parlayed that into something real nice.
All right. So I know people are like, gosh, you guys, can you give the NFL a little love? You guys never talk NFL. Kev wanted to see how far we go to the show without it, but we only have a
whole hour, 45 minutes.
Hour, 45 minutes. We'll step away. So Lamar Jackson. Kev.
Who?
Now, Lamar comes out today. And I think this was a very cool move because I love Petty. Petty is cool. At the exact moment, it was 10:41 a.m. John Harbaugh was sitting down with media at the coaches' meetings today. Coaches' meetings, he was asked, is Lamar Jackson your coach? At 10:51 a.m. on the dot, was being asked that exact question. 10:51 on the dot, as John Harbaugh is saying, yes, he knows that there's some things that they have to work through, but he will be their quarterback. At the exact same time, Lamar drops out a letter to his fans, saying that back in early March, he requested a trade from the Ravens. So, man, oh, man, I don't know if you believe in coincidences. I don't. I think everything's done for a reason. I think that was done for a reason. I love Petty. I love Lamar, if that's what that was. That was pettiness. I'm a big fan of that. We'll talk about that, what that means for the Ravens, what it means for Lamar, what it means for, the AFC North and any other team that could potentially be in the running to acquire his talents. But did Lamar hurt himself by releasing that tweet today? We'll talk about that when we come back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Calling all HVAC service technicians. Have you chosen to forgo health insurance because the premiums are too high with your current employer? Did you know that REAK covers 100% of your health insurance for you and your family? Not only that, we also offer a great pension plan and generous signing bonus. Contact REAK Services today. We're hiring dedicated, talented technicians who are looking for a long-term career in the HVAC service industry. Apply today at reekservices.com. That's RIECK services.com.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
Yes, we do have availability. Those dates for how many guests?
Andrea's Boutique Hotel is the destination to tie the knot.
Oh, you want the whole property?
She needs an assistant to catch the bookings bouquets.
249 guests, huh? Oh, and 3 dogs.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Today on Hey Culligan, how smart is your water? Here's Tracy.
Hey Culligan, I think my water might be dumb.
Good news, Tracy. Your water's not dumb. It's just not talking to you.
You can make my water talk.
No, but the new Culligan Smart Drinking Water System can talk to your phone to tell you when your water filters need changing and help you meet drinking water goals.
Now that's some brilliant H2O.
You said it, Tracy, and we're already on the way. Let us help you out with a free in-home water test with the local Culligan water expert at Culligan.com.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week, there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
$5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right. My friends at Cordell Transportation are now hiring experienced Class A CDL drivers with excellent work history. If that's you, apply now. Cordell Transportation offers home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight, and brand new equipment, plus a $5,000 sign-on bonus paid over 18 months, paid orientation, and company 401k with company match. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
This is Education Matters with Ohio Education Association President Scott Tomorrow.
When our students have the resources and opportunities they need to reach their full potential, our state is a stronger, better place for all of us. We must ensure our public tax dollars are used as they should be to fund the public schools that serve 90% of Ohio's children. Tell your lawmakers to fully fund the Fair School Funding Plan now.
Education Matters, brought to you by the Ohio Education Association.
It's March, and you know what that means. Taxes are almost due. Jackson Hewitt can help you win tax season. That's the sound of your maximum tax refund. The sound of getting 50% off tax prep. The sound of many of our competitors' prices going up. And the sound of getting to your nearest Jackson Hewitt. Hurry in for 50% off tax prep before this offer expires April 9th. Limited time offer for new clients filing at participating locations. Max value $200. Visit jacksonhewitt.com/50 for terms.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Thinking about gas mileage. You know, changing your oil with a full synthetic oil like Valvoline Advanced can help your engine get more miles. Right now, you can get 5 quarts with an STP Extended Life oil filter for only $37.99. Get started on your next job today with the parts you need when you need them at AutoZone or AutoZone.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
If you haven't been to Chevrolet of Troy, you have to stop in today. What makes us different? A state-of-the-art dealership offering experience, service, parts, and body shop. We're the only dealership in Miami County with an on-site body shop, and we make it easy with experienced, tenured professionals ready to answer your questions and diagnose your vehicle quickly. Our priority is customer service. Make Chevrolet of Troy your first choice for service, parts, and body shop. 1375 South Market Street and online at ChevroletofTroy.com.
When you least expect it, life happens. You can count on McAfee's 24/7 service to be there when it does. Any season, anytime, McAfee.
ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel is where you can watch Dayton's only local sports talk show. Hang out with Kinner and Kev weekdays at 3 p.m. on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Opening day for the Cincinnati Reds will be this Thursday, as will the rest of Major League Baseball, of course. But we are Dayton's radio home of the Cincinnati Reds, and thanks to our friends over at Frickers, we are going to be live at opening day. We'll have a special Kinner and Kev broadcast Thursday morning, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. It's going to be a very early start to the day for us. That's fine.
Getting on the road early.
Never been to Cincinnati for opening day before, so I'm pretty jacked about that. But to be able to host the show live at Great American Ballpark the morning of opening day, pretty excited about that. We'll be spending most of Wednesday at GABP, catching up with some of the players and David Bell and the media guys. So pretty jacked about that. Really looking forward to Wednesday. Really looking forward to Thursday. Shout out to Frickers for stepping up and putting us in position to head down to Great American Ballpark. Reds news: Joey Votto will begin the season on the IL, according to Bobby Nightingale with the Inquirer. This ends his consecutive opening day streak. Joey Votto says that it saddens me because opening day means a lot to our city. It means a lot to me. This is just how it's shaking out this year. I'm trying to hustle back. We'll hear from Joey Votto later in the week and some other key Reds members, players that we'll be able to watch and hear from throughout the week leading up to opening day. They open up 3 with the Pirates at home, 3 with the Cubs at home before they hit the road. Pretty jacked about that. We'll be giving away Reds tickets later this week. They have the Cubs on their opening night game on Monday night. In fact, I'll be heading to that too. So I'm going to be at GAVP a lot for the next couple of days.
They letting you in the building?
They're fine with me over there. Just no BS today, Kenner. That's
what about Votto?
He's not even going to be. He's on the IL. He'll be making TikToks or up in the broadcast, but I have no clue where Joey Votto will be. But how about this line? Chad Graff covers the Patriots for The Athletic. He says that Robert Kraft told him today, again, it's the owners' meetings today, that Robert Kraft said he told Chad Graff today that Meek Mill texted him a few days ago saying that Lamar Jackson wanted to come to the Patriots or wants to come to the Patriots. But Kraft said it was ultimately Bill Belichick's decision. By the way, get you an owner that's like Robert Kraft, by the way. Not for his, never mind. But
goodness.
I'm talking about the fact that, like, he literally said, well, it's Bill Belichick's decision. Really? Good for you. Good for you if that's the case. I mean, who's going to be here? Who's going to be in the league 10 years from now? Bill Belichick, Lamar Jackson. I think now's the time where if you're an owner, you put your foot down and say, Belichick, love you and all, but we have maybe 2 years of you left. Possibly we could have 10 years of Lamar. I think we're going to force you to adapt to this or we're going to move on. But if I'm Lamar, I wouldn't want to play for Belichick, as wild as that sounds. Trusting him to adapt to an offensive philosophy and style, I don't know if I would trust him with that. So regardless of the Patriots, Kev, Lamar Jackson, although we've said, how do you go back? How do you go back? He announced today he wants traded. He let the Ravens know weeks ago, early March, that he wanted traded. My only problem with this is I don't think this announcement today, this is where you need an agent, because if he had an agent, the agent tells him, I wouldn't release that. You just hurt your own status as far as, like, now teams are not going to line up. They're not going to want to trade for you. They're not going to want to do anything because with the way your contract or the way your deal is set up now with this option, they have to give up 2 first-rounders. The Ravens don't have leverage anymore. The Ravens have lost all leverage. It's now made public that Lamar does not want to play for them. I find this interesting. The other thing I find interesting is, although Jeff Darlington did say that, although he's demanded the trade, he was still heavily working in negotiations last week with the team.
Mm-hmm.
So my concern is this. If this is all over guaranteed money and the Ravens, you won't play for the Ravens because they won't give you fully guaranteed money. Wherever you go, it better be for fully guaranteed money, because I think he will be the villain and he will look like the bad guy if he goes to any other franchise and plays for a non-guaranteed contract. Right or wrong, I would be upset if I'm a Ravens fan and you don't want to play for us because we won't give you fully guaranteed money, but you go to Baltimore or you go to Miami or New England or Detroit and you sign anything less than a fully guaranteed contract. I would have a problem with that as a Ravens fan. The fact that he's still negotiating with them, even though he said he didn't want to. I find all this fascinating. This adds an extra wrinkle, another layer to all of this. Thank God, because I'm getting tired of it. And we needed something new to freshen it up. And the Dear Fans letter today on Twitter definitely helped that.
Yeah, for me, I'm kind of on the different side. I think that he did this because of what happened last week. And I know we weren't on the air partially last week when all that stuff started coming out. The NFL drops the letter saying, hey, reminder, only certified NFL agents can negotiate contracts. You think these teams don't know that? They know that already. That was put out there on purpose. So Lamar is not only in a fight with the Ravens, he's in a fight with the NFL. So it's kind of one of those like, oh, y'all playing like that? Fine. I'll do this instead. I'll say this. I'll put this out here. And there's not going to be any mistranslation going on if something's reported from an agent. If you're hearing it straight from the horse's mouth, these are my words. These are things that I'm saying to the fans from me. So you don't get anything confused. best believe that him and his team dropped this letter as soon as their head coach was sitting down at the owners meeting on purpose to create this. Like it's getting messy. It's getting beyond messy. It's getting ugly. And I was a person that believed that like ultimately Lamar would come in and sign the $32 million contract for this year and play, and not only play, but play poorly for the Ravens, just based off of everything that's going on with him and the organization. But now I think he's pretty dug in, and I don't think that he'll be playing for the Baltimore Ravens. And I really don't blame him, because we said this before, like we give teams the benefit of the doubt, and we look at teams like the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns, and we won't give them the benefit of the doubt. We won't give the Bengals the benefit of the doubt. Like, all right, they've turned it around. They're going to have to show it. They're going to have to keep on showing the proof. You had the Super Bowl season, then you had another good season, but you still got to show me that you're not a bad organization. Okay, Cleveland Browns, you signed Deshaun Watson, and now you're signing talent around him on the defensive end, and you're fixing things, but you got to show me as opposed to just one time. You have to continue to show me before we get over that. And for me, with the Baltimore Ravens, they have shown me that they're not the same well-run organization that they once were. I mean, look at that team. Look at that team. There's not a lot. It's Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews. There's now Roquan Smith and Marlon Humphrey. Can you name another Baltimore Raven? Can you name another impact?
O-H-J-K Dobbins?
Yes.
Shots initials with that dude.
But you're right, and you're 100% right. But you look at, all right, we're going to let Orlando Brown walk. Orlando Brown walked himself to a Super Bowl ring with the Kansas City Chiefs, and now he's walked himself into the contract that you could have gave him. And like, I keep looking at that team and like, who's making money that y'all can't pay anybody? Let's just take Lamar Jackson off the table. Okay, his contract is crazy. Y'all don't want to pay that. But there's nobody on that team that is making astronomical money that y'all can't pay to have other players on the team. Roquan Smith, he's making very, very good money. I mean, he's now the second highest paid middle linebacker in the league, and Marlon Humphrey's well compensated. There's another 53 roster spots. How come there's nobody else on the team making any money? So for me, like, that's alarming that this team isn't as well run as they once were. And for me, if I'm Lamar Jackson, not only do I want out of there because I'm not going to be compensated fairly or to my demands, I'm out of there because I don't think we can win, because they're not doing everything in their power to try to win. We can talk all we want to about Jerry Jones and how much the Cowboys lose, and they never won a Super Bowl since the 90s, since the triplets and everything like that. Not one person out there, a Cowboys fan or a non-Cowboys fan, believes that Jerry Jones isn't doing everything in his power to try to win. Now, things haven't gone their way, but the owner is trying to win. I'm not sure that the ownership and the upper management of the Baltimore Ravens are trying to win.
That's why I get annoyed as a Browns fan. Over the weekend, I'm getting so tired of, well, the Browns are to blame. The Browns are to blame. And it's being worded in a way that has a negative connotation to it, because the Browns got ripped for decades because they could never find a quarterback. They do what they can, they don't win. Now they do whatever they had to win, and now they're wrong for doing that. Now the Browns are that it's Deshaun Watson's contract that is holding this up. Well, I'm fascinated. The Ravens are garbage because they won't pay their quarterback fully guaranteed money, and the Browns are garbage because they would pay their quarterback guaranteed money. And I know it's not the same. You know, Lamar and Deshaun aren't starting a race from the same starting block. I get that. There's other variables in there, but we could pretend that everyone's outraged because of the off the field stuff with Deshaun, and that's why. But no, the owners would be just as mad if a Boy Scout came off the street and was paid fully guaranteed money at quarterback for as much as Deshaun was paid. That's the owners are ticked off about this.
Right.
And the next owner has to have and give the Haslam's credit. They don't care. They don't care what you think of them. They don't care if the other owners like them or not. They've been the butt of jokes for all the losing. Now they're the butt of jokes because of this guaranteed contract, but they're going to be able to handle those jokes because they might be winning football games coming up. Hopefully the roster they put together should put them in that position. The Ravens, I don't know the Browns, Ravens, who's a better organization right now. You have one that is doing everything in their absolute power to win games, And you have another one that is doing everything in their power to lose their franchise quarterback and to not put anything together that's competitive whatsoever. It's a wild world to say that the Browns have a better organization and the Bengals have a better organization right now than the Ravens. It just doesn't make any sense. I do know this. Quarterbacks, they make and break you.
Yeah.
They make and break you. I mean, a quarterback makes the Bengals look like they're a competent franchise. And a quarterback is making the Ravens, who we all well respected, look like a dysfunctional franchise. So I don't know. I do know this, though. If it's getting ugly, it could continue to get ugly. What I'm curious about, the Ravens could come out and say, we've tried to get talent. Hollywood Brown wanted to leave. Why do you want to leave? Jamar Chase isn't leaving Cincinnati. T. Higgins isn't leaving Cincinnati. Guys aren't wanting to leave Cincinnati because they like their quarterback. Why was the only
those
good
things?
receiver?
Yeah, those things are definitely going to come out.
They're going to come out. And if I'm Baltimore, do it. You got to save face in this situation. I'm not urging them to go. But what I mean is Lamar's winning from the PR battle, like making them look bad for the time being. But they might know stuff that we don't know. Maybe it is, hey, we've tried to get free agents to come here. They're not comfortable playing with Lamar because of all the criticisms that media has about him not being a pass-first quarterback. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But I could only assume, I can only guess, I can only ponder. Just let us know. At least Lamar came out today and said, yeah, I want traded. Now we know. Now we know where he stands. Baltimore keeps doing the PR scripted answers. He's our quarterback. We're looking forward to going to battle with him in week 1 and blah, 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 blah.
And another thing that is triggering for me about Baltimore is they acknowledge that whatever they were doing offensively was hindering them as a football team by firing their offensive coordinator. So it is kind of like the same thing. Remember, he was the offensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers with Colin Kaepernick. I know Colin Kaepernick is a hot button issue for a lot of people out there, but for 3 seasons, Colin Kaepernick was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Helped his team get to the Super Bowl, destroyed the Green Bay Packers on several occasions. Roman was their offensive coordinator. So people talk about like, oh man, they figured Colin Kaepernick out, or did they figure out the offense that Greg Roman was running? And then you look at Lamar Jackson, he jumps on the scene, that MVP unanimous season, wildfire. And then slowly but surely, the same thing that happened with the San Francisco 49ers happened with the Baltimore Ravens. It kind of got stale. Things went from spread wide to, all right, very condensed. It's the same exact thing. So they acknowledge that as a franchise, say like, all right, whatever we're doing offensively isn't working. Let's bring in some new blood, some new life. And so for me, like that's another strike against the Baltimore Ravens to say like, all right, this is proof that whatever y'all was doing wasn't working, and y'all need credit for y'all for trying to fix it, but let's continue to fix it and try to bring in more talent. And y'all never did that. So it's just like, what is going on? And I think right now it's hit the point of no return because it's very tit for tat. And to your point, with an agent, it's not the person, it's not the player coming out saying these things. It's the agent speaking for them, which I really don't get the difference. But in the Baltimore Ravens case, it's not Harbaugh or the GM saying these things. It's, hey, Adam Schefter, hey, NFL reporter, say this. And then it gets out there. So it's being reported. My sources. Well, your sources are the people in the Baltimore Ravens organization that are your sources. It's just not coming from the Baltimore Ravens mouths. So it's only going to get uglier. It's only going to get uglier.
So, yes, it is going to get uglier, and it is going to be interesting. And Baltimore can come out and say, hey, we tried to get talent. They just didn't want to come play with Lamar and all this type of stuff. And then it's who's going to win the PR war. But this is all going to unfold, and we'll be here for it. All I know is the report came out today. The Bengals and Joe Burrow's side have been involved in contract extension conversations for weeks now. And you would have to think that if I'm the Bengals, if I'm the Chargers with Justin Herbert, if I'm any team out there, I'm trying to hurry the hell up.
Yes.
Because there's still a chance Lamar Jackson could get a fully guaranteed contract, not with the Ravens, but somewhere else. Bet online odds of where Lamar could play next season. The Colts are the favorite at plus 300. Guess what? They have a very rich owner. They have an owner like the Browns that will drop money. If they're, as you guys like to say, desperate enough, okay, or you just can't win in the league without a quarterback and you have a guy in his mid-20s that you can have for 10 years, I think a guaranteed contract would be worth it if it means locking him up that way. Okay, fine. Colts plus, and then the Lions and Falcons come in with the second highest odds at plus 550. Now, the Lions have an interesting decision to make. The Lions are the ones that are they have to make a quick decision here. Not quick. It's going to be April this week. So if Lamar signs with the Lions, the Lions, they have a decision to make. Okay. The Lions, if they cut Jared Goff after June 1st, they'll save $20 million. But you have to make that decision up in your mind now that, okay, we're going to cut Jared Goff and pursue Lamar. But you can't pursue Lamar and keep Jared Goff at the same time because you risk that relationship with Jared Goff.
Right.
Because Jared Goff could be like, hey, I'm not top 5 in this league, but I'm the key to your success this year. Because if you piss me off, I'm going to demand a trade and just sit back and let whatever. You risk that because the Lions are trending in the right direction. They've had a great offseason. You don't want to mess with that. But, man, wouldn't you be kicking yourself if you're a team like the Lions who also have the money to pay him guaranteed money, who is also a franchise like the Browns and the Bengals, by the way, get off your high horse, folks, that they've never been able to win the big one. They have to win the big one. And to win the big one, you got to go get that quarterback. They could be a desperate franchise too. So I'm just saying the Lions are a team to keep an eye out for. They have tons of draft pieces as well. They're a young roster. They could build around Lamar for the next 10 years. He would be electric over in Detroit. The Colts as well. But the Patriots and Dolphins come in as the 4th and 5th highest odds at both plus 800. So I'm fascinated to see what's going to happen with all of this.
I'm still hold steadfast what I said last week. If he does sign with another team, it's going to be after the draft. You talk about the Colts, you talk about the Lions. They want to use those top draft picks. They want to bring in more talent because I don't know where the Colts are drafting. It skips my mind. I think they're drafting like at number 4. So they don't want to give up the 4 pick to the Baltimore Ravens. They want to use that pick, bring in somebody, sign him to a crazy contract, Lamar that is, then give up the following 2 years first round draft picks. And then you'll basically say like, all right, we gave up our whatever draft pick for Lamar Jackson. And hopefully that's in the mid-20s. You don't want to give up that top one. I say if I'm the Colts or the Lions, hopefully just get through this draft and then throw a big contract fully guaranteed his way and then just give up those picks for the following seasons.
Yeah, you have the Colts coming in at number 4 and then the Lions at number 6. Another interesting one that I heard today for the Cardinals, you have that number 3 pick. You send the number 3 and Kyler Murray to Baltimore to get Lamar over in Arizona. That's another owner that likes to spend a lot of money. They've already invested heavily into their quarterback, fully guaranteed money, more than what Baltimore was willing to do, invest a little bit more, blah, blah, blah. So it is what it is. But last thing here, Lamar gets guaranteed money, cap or no cap.
Fully guaranteed?
Fully guaranteed money, cap or it doesn't matter the team. Just
I'm going to go cap. I think he's going to get at least 200 guaranteed.
So you can blame the Ravens for not willing to go the 200 mil guaranteed route. But at the same time, you're going to go through all of this, Lamar, to still end up with an unfully guaranteed contract. You play a role in this dysfunction as well at the same time. But you got to go down swing. You have to. You might risk the relationship, but there's 31 other teams you can go create new relationships with.
Absolutely. And ultimately, I think he'll end up in a better situation because you talk about the Lions. Look at the Lions roster. Look at the Baltimore Ravens roster. Look at the Colts roster. Look at the Baltimore Ravens roster. Look at the Minnesota Vikings roster. Look at the Baltimore Ravens roster. Like, it's clearly those other teams have better rosters than the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Baltimore Ravens might have a better, coach or culture like that always seems to have them in the fights and everything like that. And that's a lot to be said. But just player for player, the Lions mop them, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And that's where he plays, on the offensive side of the ball.
Going to be interesting nonetheless. Ryan messages into the show. There is not, in all capital letters, a team in the NFL that is going to give Lamar what the Browns gave Watson, and that's what he wants. That just tells you how outlandish of a deal the Browns gave. Stop with the outlandish. What the Browns did is unprecedented. No other team has done it, but what the Browns did is actually going to look like not a lot of money here in the next 3 or 4 years.
Right.
You realize this, and this is what Jeff, I forgot I'm being disrespectful to our last guest that we had on. He was the expert when it came to the salary cap. And he had mentioned, he goes, everyone is blowing this way out of proportion because of the fact that, do you realize how many quarterbacks get max contracts that it's not fully guaranteed, but they get every dime that they sign for? Like, unless you get cut, and no one's cutting elite level quarterbacks.
Right.
So Joe Burrow may not sign a fully guaranteed contract, but guess what he's going to get? He's going to get every dime that's in that contract. So that's why I laugh. Why do you Bengals fans care Stop pretending to act like you're jealous because the Browns owner has money and yours doesn't. I mean, it's just as simple as that. What does it matter if the $230 million is fully guaranteed? Let's just say 200 of the 230 was fully guaranteed. Deshaun still, if he is who he's supposed to be, he's going to make all 230 of that anyways, whether it was guaranteed or not. Joe Burrow's going to sign some crazy $300 million deal over X amount of years, and 220 of it's guaranteed. Guess what, Kev? He's going to make all 300 of that because he's Joe Burrow, and he's going to win. He's going to get the playoffs. He's going to get all the career incentives, all that stuff. That's what all the salary cap experts keep trying to argue, is that the hatred for the Browns is talking louder than common sense. And common sense is, if Deshaun is, now this puts pressure on the Browns because he has to live up to it.
Right.
There's pressure to live up to it. But no quarterback is getting cut. No quarterback is not going to get the money they have coming to them because guess what? The Browns, this thing with Deshaun, all right, we're losing. We got to hit the reset button. Who else wants him? A team's going to step up. They're going to trade. They'll take on the remainder of his contract, and we just keep on moving. I am so annoyed acting as if this is a big deal because as every draft expert that we've had on has talked about, or salary cap expert, every quarterback gets their money,
right?
Unless they're bad. But name an elite level quarterback, like even what's his name with the Broncos right now, Russ. You know, he got a lot of guaranteed money in his contract.
Yeah.
And obviously, if he doesn't get that, it's because of the fact that, he didn't live up to those expectations. But no one expected him not to live up to those expectations. Right. Everything is a gamble. Joe Burrow could end up, after taking all the hits these first 3 years, you can give him that major contract extension. Those hits can start catching up with him in the back end. Well, guess what? Now how silly do you guys look? So stop trying to overanalyze the Browns' decision and what they did. You can. I like you. But my goodness.
It's a big deal because it's the first. And eventually, eventually it was going to be somebody was going to get a fully guaranteed contract to this extent. And it just so happens to be the Browns, and it just so happens to be a player dealing with off the field situations and everything like that. So, like, not only do you get the fan base from the rival teams talking, then you get, people talking about the things that he was accused of talking. So, like, it's just a snowball thing. The fact of the matter of is it was going to happen eventually. Deshaun Watson was just the guy to get it.
Yeah, so he responds, Kev, with, it will catch up to them, Justin. He's getting $230 million. What if he doesn't win in Cleveland? You're going to give Joe Burrow a lot of money. What if after you pay him and can't afford weapons around him, what if you guys don't win moving forward? Like, why are we doing this thing where only the Browns have to live by these imaginary rules that you don't hold your own team standards to? It doesn't make sense. That's what
I'll say it like this. Contracts in the NBA are guaranteed. People sign contracts and it quote unquote catches up to them, and then they trade the player.
And that's what'll happen here.
Like, how many times has John Wall been traded? John Wall got traded from the Wizards to Houston, and then traded, and then it got to his last year of his deal with them, and they bought out his contract, and no mas.
Yep. And the owners, they own a lot of gas stations. Bankrupted them, but they own a lot of gas stations. They own a soccer team. They own an NFL team. They own an NBA team. They're fine.
Yeah, and trying to get my mom and my grandmother and all the great other taxpayers up there in Cuyahoga County to pay for their football stadium.
Go Browns, Kinner and Cat 1410 ESPN Radio. And you should. They should.
No, they should not.
I said she should be helping pay for the house that Deshaun Watson's about to build.
Negative.
Go Browns. Go Browns.
Tell her to move down here.
and pay for Joe Burrow Stadium?
No, this is Montgomery County. This ain't got nothing to do with them. We good.
Valid.
Welcome
Browns.
Stadium.
Cat 1410. Welcome.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Spring is here. Rob's Beer Barn is stocked with the newest seasonal beers and refreshments. That means Rob's Beer Barn has you covered for all your needs, including all the March basketball tournament parties. At Rob's, you can find all the ice-cold refreshments you'll need. Craft, imported, local, and seasonal beers, fine wine, snacks, and ice. Plus, Rob's Beer Barn has apparel and gift cards. You can call, walk in, or drive through. Rob's Beer Barn on Indian Ripple Road at Darst, just a mile east of the Green. Rob's Beer Barn, just look for the beaver.
Hi, Greg McAfee here with McAfee Heating and Air. Dayton was founded on blue-collar work. Many Daytonians worked at companies like NCR, McCall's Publishing, Delco, and the Huffy Corporation. Blue-collar work set Dayton apart in innovation and forward thinking. And today, we have a company like McAfee Heating and Air. Our apprenticeship program is a perfect opportunity to get paid while you learn. Go to mcair.com and apply